multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6 Show, sponsored again by BetMGM and Godlen Goals. We'll be playing the game later. Your chance to win £2 million tax-free this weekend by predicting 6 correct scores. Download the app now by scanning that QR code above my head or click on the link in the description below. Got a brilliant panel for you tonight. Egal is here, Nathan, LB, Man Like Will. Got JJ. Jerry's coming soon, Liverpool fan, and Alex, the Chelsea fan. They'll be with us momentarily, so stay with us for what is bound to be another epic Top 6 show where we're looking ahead to a little game in Liverpool this weekend. We're not going to spend much time on that. I think we can skirt through that pretty quickly. We're looking at Arsenal as they take on Brighton after their clash with the FA this week. We're looking at Chelsea's crisis as well, and we will be talking about a big game for Tottenham tonight as they look to make it 2 wins on the bounce and push themselves back up towards the top of the EPL. But evening, gentlemen, how are we all? We all well? We all good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's a nice Friday afternoon.
It is nearly Christmas, and yeah, lots going on. I wanted to start with, I did want to start with Chelsea. I don't know where Alex is. He'll come in at some point, I suppose. I wanted to start with Chelsea tonight, boys, because they play Sheffield United away. Oh, sorry, at home. A lot of Chelsea fans online telling me if we lose or don't win even, Poch must be sacked. LB, is that the right attitude at this moment from Chelsea fans, in your opinion?
Is it the wrong attitude? I think that's probably an easy question to answer. Probably no, it's not wrong. You know what I mean? You know, this club spent a hell of a lot of money. This manager has been brought in to improve this football team, and he's not doing that. That's factually correct because you look at where they are in the table. If they lose against Sheffield United, the worst team in the division, they could easily find themselves, 15th potentially by the end of the weekend. That, I mean, are you really going to sit there and tell a Chelsea fan that they are wrong for wanting a manager out that could potentially take them to 15th in the league after 17 matches? We're almost halfway through the season. You know, I'm fully with the Chelsea fans. I stand united with them when they say they want Pochettino gone, because at the end of the day, the guy's not performing. Now, is it the easiest environment in the world to manage? Probably not. You know what I mean? You got a lot of players that they've not bought the right players. They've not got the right mix of experience and youth. I don't think the clowns upstairs know what they're doing at all. I think they're all very stupid and naive. So, yeah, absolutely, man. If the Chelsea fans want him gone, if they can't beat Sheffield United, who are we really to sit here and say, nah, give it time? I mean, how much time did he need? You know what I mean? We were almost halfway through a season here. He's still not even in the top 10. So if any Chelsea fan says to me, LB, I want Pochettino gone, I'm going to say, yeah, fairs. I get it, man. Because what he's doing right now is bad, man. It's bad. Like, you got to be better than this. And the guy as well, the stuff that he's saying in the press conferences, man. You know, I'd be cooking my team if I was him. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable the performances we put in. It's not acceptable the results we get. He's saying West stuff, man. Trying to say it's all right and all that kind of stuff. Oh, we're on the right track and all that, whatever he's saying. Nah, get out of here, man. You're 12th. You need results. So, yeah, absolutely. If any Chelsea fan says to me they want Poch gone, I'm going to be like, yeah, fairs.
Listen, Pochettino said at the beginning of the season he needed more experience. He didn't get that. Pochettino said recently they need more time to gel. They're not gelling. You can blame him as much as you want, and I understand, just like LB, you can blame him as much as you want. But the reality is it's not going to change. You change the manager, you're just going to change another manager, and the person who's picking is going to be Todd Bowley and whoever Clear Lake have in charge at Chelsea Football Club. And they've been running the club down to the ground for the last couple of months, since couple months to a year since they came in. So it doesn't matter who they bring in at this moment in time. They're still going to have the mess of a squad that they have that has not yet gelled, a bunch of inexperienced players that they're trying to get it through a Premier League season with, and they don't have enough people who are performing at a consistent level to say, yes, the manager deserves to keep the job. But I think if you sack the manager today, it's not going to benefit a young team with no level of consistency or continuity from the top down. You keep changing over the recruitment staff, the people in charge, everybody, and you're sacking over 3 managers or 2 managers in the last couple of years, it just doesn't make sense.
Nah, Egal, you're sounding like United fans here, bro. You know what I mean? Oh, we can't change it because of what do you do next? The fact is, if this manager's not good enough, you got to sack him and get someone else. You're not telling me there's no one else in the world who can come into this Chelsea team and not get him higher than 12.
No, but we agree. I'm not sitting here telling people don't want your manager sacked. I get that. Put pressure on him. He's calling them a mid-table club, for God's sakes. I get it. I get why their fans don't want him. And they never wanted him in the first place. I said when Pochettino got this job, Terry, on the Football Terrace and on many different channels, that he was set up for failure to begin with. Because these fans don't have patience. They need a win-now process in order for them to be happy. Because what they've been experiencing for well over a year was trying to build for the future, get rid of all these old players, bring in some young players. But how are you going to ever build something if you're just going to continuously sack a manager that is trying to build something? It doesn't make sense to me. What are you trying to gain from continuously sacking a manager if you're not doing if you're trying to do something where you're building for the future? You need to build with somebody. You're not just going to sack every single manager and eventually one of them is going to work.
See, my issue with Poch at the minute is he's got one game a week, so there is no excuses. He hasn't got the European games midweek to coach this team, and you know the whole reason why he's been brought in is to work with young players. I mean, I had my doubts on Pochettino before, whilst he was appointed, because I was like, you know, his Tottenham experience, he done well to begin with, but then it tailed off, right? And then he's been at PSG, wasn't really the best stint there. So, and then he's had a few years out of the game. So it's almost like a boxer who hasn't fought for a few years. And I'm like, you don't know what you're going to get with him. And in the beginning stages, you kind of saw something there because they were creating a lot of chances and they weren't putting them away. So there was something that you could look at and be like, all right, there's room for improvement, but they've regressed. And football's a results business and you need a return on investment. When $1 billion's been spent, when you've brought in what you believe to be good young talent, there needs to be some sort of results on the pitch. It's not like they're, you know, in Man United's position, they're 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and they've got a chance to fight for European competition positions. They're languishing in the mid-table. They're closer to the bottom than they are the top. And that's not acceptable for a team of Chelsea's stature. They should be competing with the likes of Newcastle. Their squad, if you look at it player for player, should be competing there. And he's not doing that. And he, as the manager, is going to be held accountable. I don't think we can call out both the players and the manager, right? Because as us as rivals, we're talking about how bad Enzo is, how bad Modric is, how bad all of these players actually are, how they're not. You know, Caicedo isn't the player that we thought he was. We can't say that and then say it's Pochettino's fault that he's not getting a tune out of him. Either one or the other is true. They can't both be true at the same time.
Well, can they not be true? Can they not be both be true? You can have players who are slightly underperforming, but you can also have a manager that still isn't getting the best out of this squad.
So are you blaming the manager for those players underperforming, or are you blaming the players not performing for the manager's results? I'm saying both, right? Because if you look at Caicedo at Brighton, he wasn't asked to defend large spaces, right? He's good at defending small spaces, but he was never asked to defend large spaces. Whereas now at Chelsea, he's asked to defend large spaces. You've got Enzo playing number 10. Enzo's not really a number 10. So you can say the players are underperforming, but they're not being utilized to their strengths either. So you can... Two things can be true in different senses, but not in the same sense, right? That's a contradiction. That's literally the definition of a contradiction, right? So two things can be true, but you're talking about them in different scenarios. In the same scenario, it is either true that Pochettino is good or he's not good, right? He can't be both at the same time. And it is either true that the players are good or they're not good. They can't be both at the same time. So it can be true that both are bad at the same time, but it can't be true that one's good and one's bad and one's good and one's bad at the same time. Right. Well, Will, one thing we can agree on is Chelsea from the top down are not an efficient club. They're moving very irrational. At times they're bringing in so many players where they have a big squad. And then when they have a big squad, they're doing fire sales, getting rid of all their experience, which leaves them with just inexperienced kids. So at this moment in time, Chelsea only have themselves to blame. And when I say themselves, I don't look at the player specifically. I don't look at the manager specifically. I look at the people at the top. And they continuously are going to be high. If they're the ones also making the hires, how can you trust them if they sack the manager tomorrow that they're going to bring in another proper manager?
Not only that, it stinks, right, of Chelsea actively getting individuals in that have never worked in the industry, not realizing what asset they had and why the asset was valued at the level it was valued at, and changing everything completely to have a Brighton, Leipzig, Ajax, whatever model you want to call it. but the fans' expectation remains at the standard that it was at prior to that, and that it's not going to work. Like it's a cold hard fact to like swallow right now. But no matter what they do at this moment, unless they change or the fans change, this isn't going to work.
Right, but what I'm saying is the thing that I'm rejecting here, the argument that I'm rejecting here, is the fact that you're saying Pochettino should do better because he spent $1 billion on young, good players. Well, if they're good, then
no,
they're good.
That's
they're not
nonsense.
bad.
I don't agree.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right? But that's the nonsensical part for me. That's the part that doesn't.
I don't understand why that's not right. So I'm looking at the squad.
People are saying the players are bad.
Yeah, but
I think the players are under. I think the
please.
players are underperforming. I don't think the players are playing as good as they should be playing and have played in the past. But I also think the manager isn't doing the right things as well. I don't get why those two things can't be true. Why can they not be true?
But can I ask you a question though? Are we like? I agree with you. He's not performing well enough, but I don't think this squad is a top 4 squad. I don't think this is a top 6 squad. So, like, are we really is the difference really gonna be? Oh, we should be 8th or 9th rather than we're 12th and this is bad. Like, does that make sense? So, if Chelsea get 3 victories now in the next 3 games, are we all gonna come onto the show and say the crisis is over? Because I'm not.
No, clearly not. But bro, we expect better from what we've seen last year. I think that's fair. So even if it is 8th, why? What do you mean why? Because Chelsea finished 12th or 11th last year. Like, obviously we expect
Chelsea aren't the Chelsea that you know. Like, this is what I think what people need to accept. Chelsea aren't the Chelsea that we used to be. And you know what? It hurts to say that.
Fulham, West Ham.
No,
I'm not asking a lot here.
Because if you even like, people always want to compare us to Aston Villa now. This is the new one, right? Emery's come in and done this. Aston Villa have been together as a core for a considerable period of time. Emery, in my opinion, is a better coach than Poch. But what Emery has is players that have got regular starts in the Premier League, has got regular starts in top flight leagues, and he's supplemented it with a Pau Torres, with other players like a Tielemans, who are coming in and are arguably better than, at this moment in time, a Leslie Ogochukwu, are better than Conor Gallagher. Like, what we have is not a well-compiled squad. And Poch, injury problems. And more importantly, young players, this is not going to work out well.
I'm not comparing you to Aston Villa. I'm comparing you to Fulham, Brighton, not even Brighton, West Ham, Brentford, and you're making it sound like that's an unreasonable. I'm sorry. How is it unreasonable to suggest that you should be better than Fulham, Brentford, and West Ham?
No, we should be, but we're not. And that's the sad thing.
Revisionism here, because if we look at, objectively speaking, the beginning of the season, when we looked at the signings that Chelsea made and the players that Chelsea have, no one's sitting here talking Chelsea have a worse squad than West Ham. No one's really saying that. There was expectations that Chelsea would be at least in some sort of European, or some European competition.
But Pochettino made it evidently clear. One thing that he specifically asked for was experience. And we can all sit here and tell you that Aston Villa, Brentford, West Ham have more experienced players that are playing week in, week out than Chelsea currently do. But maybe even forget about that for a second. Chelsea are probably one of the most injury-riddled club out of all of our clubs. Now, I know you don't want to hear that as an excuse on why they're performing bad, but when you have a team that's just come together and one of their prize players in Nkunku hasn't kicked the ball for them yet, and some of their best players have been injured and back and forth injuries, you got to give them a little bit of break as a manager.
And not only that, context, right? Look, $1 billion spent. It sounds great, right? On YouTube, like, that's a great thumbnail. That's a great title. That's great to write everywhere. But the reality is 350 of it, off the top of my head, was spent on youth prospects that have never kicked the ball and will not kick a ball for the next 5 years. Then you've got Lavia and Nkunku, 2 players that combined cost nearly 120 million. Never played. Don't even know what it feels like to wear a Chelsea jersey. Don't know what it feels like to wear a training jersey in a competitive game. So, like, straight away, right? This team should be doing better than 12. Should be better than Fulham. And you know what? You can demand Poch to do better. I agree. The problem is you can't sack Poch. Who are you going to sack? And what? You're going to bring me Thomas Frank and we're going to do this again in 12 games? They're not going to bring a squad. Husam said something on Terry's podcast, right? And for me, it was so evident. The coaches we want as a fan base won't take this job with a stick. And this isn't our fault. This is what the owners have created. They've got the ambition of a Brighton. They've got the ambition of a Leipzig. And I really think, right, we've lost the club that we had. So, like, you can't have standards, that don't exist within the organization. Like, what are we going to do? Like Johnny says, go riot outside of Stamford Bridge and burn it down. Don't do that before anyone jumps on that, right? Do not do that. But reality is, right?
So you blame Todd Bowley?
100%. 100%. You do not take an organization the way we had, in my opinion. Marina, Czech, and Tuchel. Disband it in space of months, then do the damage of, oh my God, I'm going to... No, but the thing is, Roman did what good owners do, right? He hired someone in Marina and Emanalo, and he said, look, you guys are going to run my business for me. I don't need to come. I'll come in, enjoy my car, but you make sure the maintenance is there. It's the same way Sheikh Mansour's done it with Man City, right? He hired good people to run the business. I don't think Sheikh's sitting in Qatar, picking up the phone and going, oh, you know what? Today we're going to buy Calvin Phillips. I don't think that was a call made by him. They hired people that do the job. And with us, our people don't do the job properly. So sack Pochettino, bring in whoever you want, right? Thomas Frank, Pep's new assistant, Arteta's new assistant. It's not going to work.
But that can be true, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you. If Enzo or Caicedo was offered to anybody on this panel at the beginning of the season, everybody would have taken them. So there is a responsibility also on the manager to play these players in the best of the positions, right? To create a structure, a system that gets the best out of them. At the minute, when you look at Caicedo and what he's been asked to do and how you not defend in general, right, and how exposed he is, right, in the press, you can see he's a different player to what he was at Brighton. And that's because the system of the Zerbi system got the best out of him. Now, you can argue here that Pochettino's system is not getting the best out of certain players. I've seen Chelsea fans, I think Don's come on here many times criticising how Enzo's been played in number 10, right? And he should be, and Gallagher's as the deep line midfielder next to Caicedo, right? And it should be the other way around if it's going to be played like that. These are the reasons why Pochettino should be criticised, because there are small things he's done. He's played players out of position as well. So these are the things where we are critiquing the manager, because the structure, right, and how he sets a team up are on him. What's happened in regards to your board? Of course, that's fair criticism. Everybody criticised that. It's been a shit show, right? It's, you're still trying to sign kids. I think you're trying to sign another 16-year-old from Brazil at the moment, right? Yeah. It's ridiculous, yeah?
And ridiculous. I agree with you. We're not getting the best out of the assets that we have. But at the same time, Enzo's played 50 league games in his career. Let that sink in. In Europe, Enzo's played 50 league games. Caicedo's played 60, if I'm not mistaken, or 70. And Gallagher's not good enough. He's not up to par, and he's played less than 100.
He's your best player.
He's not our best player. Stop
he's been your best performing player.
He really hasn't. It's just people watch the big games. He runs around kicking people's legs or winning the ball back. So people just proclaim it as he's our best player. He really isn't. Man.
You got to be honest.
I would accept 50. I would accept 50 million more for him to go.
Alex, how do you see the game at the weekend going? You are playing the worst team in the league statistically. They've got a new manager, though. Well, it's an old new manager with Wilder coming back. Is this type of team your kryptonite? They're going to sit in deep. They're going to be hard to break down. Are you imagining and seeing a victory, or do you think this could be another poor result for Chelsea this weekend?
So for a living, I work with models and probability. What I've seen from this team is 9 wins in 39. The likelihood is we're not going to win. The way we play against low blocks, we're not going to win. I think Poch is going to get sacked. But the problem is, it's because there's no solution here, because they're just going to reset the project. So the next person they bring in is going to be an interim. Then we're going to restart again in the summer. Or whoever they do bring in is, in my opinion, at the moment, won't be the caliber of manager you trust to do this rebuild. For me, you ride it out with Poch, and we will, in my opinion, draw 1-1.
Why do you want to ride it out, though? I don't get this.
Because I think the good managers
are a year
ago. Going to get worse.
Because I think at the moment, Poch is the best out of a bad bunch of managers. I never thought Poch was the right appointment. And this is really sad because, I wanted Nagelsmann. I wanted Enrique because I knew what they would demand from the board. And surprise, surprise, both didn't get it because of their demands in their interviews. The one that got it is the one that's quiet. and Poch snuck in through the back, and everyone, they portrayed it like, oh, he was our first choice. The other people on that list were Ainge and company. All due respect to Ainge, but Chelsea fans would have eaten him alive if he had the start, the 5 games without a win, back to back, like 4 losses or 5 losses, whatever Spurs had. And the first thing they would have been saying is, Scottish tier manager, SPL, we're not accepting that. And correct, but the standards are different. Like, LB, I fully agree with you. I really hope we still had Roman, and I was still saying, nah, it's unacceptable. We should not be top 4. We should be top 3, top 1 even. But this is the reality.
I just looked at a stat here. I had to go back and look at this. In Chelsea's last 38 games, so 16 from this year and 22 from last year, their total points in their last 38 Premier League games is 39 points. In 38.
And to make it, what a worst team. We're the worst team of the non-relegated sides.
And when you, but then pound for pound, with how much you guys invest, size of the club, wage bill, in my opinion, in the last 38 games, you're the worst performing team. Now, your wage bill compared to the Leicesters and the Leeds and the Southamptons and the Lutons and all these teams that were down there, some have obviously been relegated since. I felt it last year that if you guys had 5 more, if there's 5 or 6 more games to go in the league, you were going to go down. That's how bad you were last year. And this season, again, it's been a little bit better than last year. But to, 19 points, you don't win this weekend. To be sitting on 19 points after 17 games, that's where I listen to what you're all saying, and I get your points. I think that there's always going to be some duds that you buy. There's always going to be some youngsters that don't reach their full potential. I do think a lot of the top, better players at Chelsea are underperforming. But I also look at the mistakes that Poch is making, where he's playing people, some of his setups, the lack of fight that this team has. I expect them to be better than a team that could be 15th by the end of this weekend, because I still think they've got high quality in there. And even if they're not in the top 6, like pushing for it, to be well, Man United ain't winning this weekend, but to be, 8 points behind this Man United team is horrendous. But I do get your point as well. I'm not saying you're wrong for not wanting Poch to be sacked entirely. I understand your train of thought that loads of things need to be fixed. Who can you bring in as the manager? You'd be resetting again. But if you sit in 15th in the league with literal relegation,
Terry, give me the manager that should come in after Poch.
Oh, mate, it's a really good question. We spoke about this on a couple of shows I've been on today, and I think Chelsea fans, like Man United fans, have got to be realistic with their current plight. Yep. Zidane is not saying yes. Even for all them, he ain't doing it. Ancelotti's not coming back. Diego Simeone would laugh very hard at both of our boards. You are talking about Poch levels and lower. You're talking De Zerbi's. You are talking Thomas Franks. And that is a shot in the dark, because they have not managed at the level that Chelsea are at from an expectation point of view, media scrutiny, and now what the fans expect after 20 years of the Roman Empire. The expectations are through the roof. And I see a lot of people, when you were talking, saying you're lowering the standards, and people like the special ones that similar to me. I hate that excuse. It isn't an excuse. It is a fact. I'm telling you, Zidane is not saying yes. No manager of a world-class level is going to look at a club that isn't being run well and say, yes, I'm going there, unless you throw stupid money at them. But even then, how are they going to succeed in a bad and an environment that isn't right yet? So I don't see. I do agree. I'm not saying I don't have the answers to who you should bring in if you sack him, but I do understand the call for him being sacked, because if you end up 15th after 17 games, it's crazy. Equally, I understand the calls where you don't think it's going to necessarily fix your club. Why do I get it? Because Man United are in a very similar situation. I don't think sacking Ten Hag itself fixes us. At the same time, I don't see us winning very many more games with him as our manager. So it becomes a little bit, it feels like you're jumping from the fireplace, the frying pan into the fireplace somewhat. But that just shows what a mess we are overall, really. But I don't see it as an excuse. Does anyone on this panel literally see a Simeone or a Zidane taking over Chelsea?
No. Can I ask you a question?
Do you see De Zerbi taking this job? Be honest. Do you see De Zerbi right now, tomorrow, leaving Brighton, when Brighton are in the last 16 of the Europa League?
Your club wouldn't do it. Your club wouldn't do it. They got burnt by Graham Potter. They're not going to do it again.
So it's like, what tier of manager are we going to go for? The Feyenoord manager?
Can I ask you a question, though? Can I ask a question? Like, what are you holding on to at the moment? Because earlier on in the season, I could see something from Chelsea. And even with Tottenham, for instance, when Tottenham went through a rough spell this season, I could see the way Ange's playing, even as a a rival fan, I could say, you know what, I see what he's trying to do, and I can see that long term there's something to hold on to. So if I was a Tottenham fan, I wouldn't lose my shit. Right?
Okay.
I'd keep it calm. When I'm looking at Chelsea, earlier on in the season, there was a lot to hold on to, but that hope is slowly kind of diminished, and it's getting worse and worse. Right, the performance, you're not creating as many chances as you did. You're not peppering the goal. It's not a finishing issue. It's become a whole systematic, structural. Everything is messed up now. There's no rhythm to your play. You're not dominating as well. You're not creating as many chances. So I'm looking at it like, well, you lot are regressing. So what are you holding on to say Poch is that guy? What gives you that hope other than the fact that there's no one out there? Because sometimes, you know, the grass can be greener. You know what I mean?
The grass. Look, I 100% agree with you. I don't think Poch is ever going to be the guy that takes us to the promised land. I think you can give him the most perfect squad. I don't think Poch is that guy. Like, that's why I never wanted him in the first place. But the hope I have is even that game against Everton, right? I thought they played all right. It's just the lack of quality in the final third. It's literally the lack of quality in the final third that doesn't... It's not his fault. What's it called? Cole Palmer didn't play a pass through correctly weighted. It's not his fault, bro. The chance Broja has, Broja holds it up instead of trying to chip a goalkeeper or taking a strike early. It's not his fault. Conor Gallagher, Enzo, and Caicedo in the final third aren't penetrating the defense correctly. Balance-wise, I thought we were okay. Like, if you go back and watch that game without emotion, because I like to do that, right? You watch the game, your emotion. Then you go back and watch it again when the emotions are gone. You see stuff.
Yeah.
It was a mistake that, like, honestly, it was a catalogue of mistakes that got Everton their first goal. And once that happens, young team, Goodison Park is rocking, they're not coming back. So it's like, it's up to Poch now to make sure, like, fix this team and try to build some kind of... We've seen it at Southampton. We've seen it at Spurs. We've seen it, like, in elements at PSG where managers like him as a person. They've not down tools. That's why. If it's a Ten Hag situation where the players evidently have down tools and players are calling in sickies like Rashford and Martial, then it's like, okay, cool. You kind of have to replace it.
Will, you said something earlier. You've got to give Poch 18 months. Now, I know you're someone that loves the underlying metrics, stats of games. Have you looked into any of that with Chelsea in terms of what they're doing? Do you see that there's been progression? Do you think he's going to get it right?
I think that he can, and it's not so much just necessarily the underlying metrics of Chelsea this season, which I think they have been playing good football in parts of the season and just not being able to score goals or just not being able to get results. I think there was a lot of games this season where Chelsea's looked better than the opposition. It just hasn't. It's just the results haven't come. But for me, it's a matter of, you look at last season. They had 3 managers in one season, right? 3 managers in one season: Tuchel, Graham, Frank Lampard. Then you look at Pochettino's first year at Tottenham, and it took him a good probably, 2/3 of the season before he really got his wheels starting to turn, and multiple windows of players coming in to get, because Poch has a very specific type of player that is needed for him to play his system effectively. And it's not just whoever the club decides to buy because they may be a good player. Like a lot of the players that Chelsea bought that we all rated as good had maybe 1 season of being decent, right? Caicedo only had 1 good season, and you're expecting him now that he's a great player because of 1 season, right? Data doesn't work that way. You need multiple years of data to be able to make an analysis of a player and say that, yeah, this player's quality. Everybody can have a purple patch season. Happens all the time. It's nothing new. Look at Ndombele. We paid $60 million for that clown, right? But so you got to, if you want to not commit the same mistakes that you've made in the past, you have to do something different. Right? It's literally the definition or the meme of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Sack Pochettino, bring somebody else in, and if you don't fix the underlying problem, it's going to happen again. The problem has to be addressed. And I don't think Pochettino's the problem.
But what about if he is the problem? What about if he is the problem?
You'll know that in 18 months then.
Yeah, you'll know.
We can't wait another 18 months or well. This is the
1 second. But what are Chelsea doing?
You're already in 12th. You were in 12th last season.
LB, Really and truly, they sack the manager. They bring in another manager. What is he going to do? Another cup run? This season's a write-off for Chelsea. We already know that. They have a young squad. They have to build. Why continue and build with a new person, start a whole new process all over when you already have somebody in the job who's been working for 6 months trying to instill something? Now you're going to cut it off. It's basically like that meme when you're digging for gold and you turn away just before
Egal,
you get to the diamond.
let me respond to that.
You never know.
That only works though, because in your theory, this works out successfully. What about if it doesn't work out successfully and we're here in another year's time and we're still 12th? Yeah, Chelsea is still sitting at the top and say, oh, you know what? We probably should have sacked him.
Realize
when he was 15th after 16 games.
You not realize what you're asking to do is the same cycle. What same thing as Will said. What we're asking to do is break the cycle. Do something different.
And you know what the issue is? I totally agree with you, LB. Honestly, this is against everything I believe the way a club should be run. But you need to know who is running the club. What they want to do is completely different to what my ambitions are for Chelsea. We saw something. They want us to become the new, like there's an article that was released in France. They want us essentially to become the new Leipzig and Salzburg, where Strasbourg develop the players and send them across to us, and then we end up selling them on later on for a higher profit. They want that model going on. And the reality is, you sacked Potter, in my opinion, and this is hindsight 2020. If they were going to hire Frank Lampard, Potter should have got the whole season. Potter should have got the whole season. At least we saw some resemblance of football. With Frank, they down tools. They were like, oh, who is this guy? There was 40 players. With Potter, you give the idea of we still have a manager for next season. And at the end of the year, you sit down with him and say, you didn't meet these targets. I'm sorry. We're going to bring in Pochettino.
But what do you say to your fans that want the manager sacked? Because there's a bunch of fans in the chat that are probably angry at the fact that we're even having a conversation that Poch should stay.
Wake up. Because the reality is, this is our club now. And unless the directors get sacked and we get Michael Edwards or Paul Mitchell or someone else, but even then, it might not even be the directors' objectives. It might be Bowley and Igbali trying to pass down their vision of what this business should be, because that's how they view it. It's a business.
But ain't the situation similar to United's? Because it's the same thing. There's a problem structurally at United, and the manager isn't doing certain simple things right, and that's what's playing position, not playing players, falling out, etc. Right. So for me, it's the basics of.
I wouldn't sack Ten Hag, and the reason I wouldn't sack.
For me, I'm saying to you, I'm looking at even the simple things, like how do you, if you want the best out of two midfielders, why are you playing one of them in a position that doesn't suit them, right? And it doesn't suit the team.
Bro, it's because, but you see what you're doing there, right? Sorry, what team do you support, if you don't mind me?
I support Arsenal.
Arsenal fan, right? You're looking from the outside in, yeah? And you're looking at Enzo played on the left, Gallagher played in the double pivot, Caicedo. Other than that, we have no other choices. If Lavia was playing, right? If Lavia was fit, and if Carney Chukwuemeka was fit, it would have been a completely different side. People were saying, oh, Chelsea looked very good and very inspiring. If you go back and look at that West Ham game and the Liverpool game, Carney played in both of them. He played in the 8/10. And it's really sad that I'm looking at a 19-year-old to be our savior. And Enzo played in his position, because the reality is, we've been hit with so many injuries. Poch is trying to put players out there. Like today, we've got 11 first-teamers injured. Let that sink. We've got 11 first-teamers injured. Tomorrow, we're going to have a kid on the bench called Matos. I could not notice Matos if I walked past him on the street. I don't know what kind of haircut Matos has. I don't know who Matos is. David Washington. They spent 16 million out of that 1 billion that gets quoted consistently. He sounds like a president of the United States instead of a footballer. I've never, ever seen him kick a ball for the first team. It's ridiculous to have Chelsea standards for a team that isn't Chelsea anymore. And that's the reality.
I do understand that point. Stunny here says, time to go. I'll take Modric for 10 million, is what he says here. James says, Poch chopping and changing, playing players out of position. Thank you, James. Also a question
chopping and changing because he's got injuries. It's not like he's had a consistent run of, if Ben Chilwell was fit the whole season, Reece James was fit, I promise you now, Ben would be starting left back, Reece would be starting right back, and we'd have a Silva and Badiashile or Silva and Colva. One of the two.
Okay.
Does Egal believe Poch will be given plenty of time?
No, because Chelsea fans don't have patience, and the Chelsea board will probably feel the pressure and end up sacking him eventually. But I think a young team with a lot of moving parts, a manager that's consistently there for a long time period that can instill a system and buy players that suit a system will benefit the club in general. So if they sack the manager again, they'll have to start all over, which will hurt them and prolong their progression.
Makes sense. Why can't you blame Poch when they sold him the project and he accepted it, and you don't want to put the blame on him? If you have a supervisor and can't get a tune out of his subordinates, who should be blamed?
Well, that's not true. So, yeah, and more importantly, you see, it's Poch was sold on this project. Poch also said when he came in, we need more experience in press conferences publicly. After he said, I'm going to have more power in January. Ornstein just released an article saying Poch is going to have no power. So unless Poch wants to sacrifice £10 million a year and walk away from this job, I think Poch is going to crack on.
This feeds into what Roy Keane was talking about the other day on the overlap, where he basically said that a lot of managers take bad deals. They get paid well, but it's a bad deal because they don't have the control they need, or there isn't or they don't have the support above them. And again, if he's in a situation where they're not going to give him what he wants, I understand that it's a lot of money to walk away from, but he should walk away. Because otherwise, it's just going to be him that gets damaged by this, and most managers would. But viewers, obviously, score predictions will come a little bit later on the show when we do Golden Goals, so make sure you're tuning in and you stay with us for that and get it downloaded. Some other games this weekend, obviously not high-profile games per se, but City take on Palace 3 p.m. tomorrow. Are you confident in that game, LB?
Hopefully, man. Hopefully, we can get back-to-back Premier League wins for the first time since October. That would be nice. 3 wins on a bounce if we can get it. And a clean sheet would be nice. We've had a clean sheet in 7 Premier League matches. So, yeah, we've not been defending great this season. So, hopefully, a clean sheet and some goals. And all Palace have, I think, quite serious injury. I think they've got nine players out. I think they're playing the third goalkeeper as well. So, they might, I think Elise is available. I think they've got quite a lot of players out. So, we're at home. Yeah, I'm pretty confident as I can be. We've not been banging form, but I think we'll win. I think we'll put the pressure because everyone else plays on Sunday, right? Everyone else plays on Sunday. So we've got a great opportunity to put the pressure on Arsenal, Liverpool and Villa. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident, man. I've gone for big scores. You'll see later on.
Yeah, can anyone see Palace shocking the world here? Again, they've done it before. The Etihad, they have done it before. Can they do it again?
Palace is Manchester City's bogey team, but with Roy Hodgson moving the way that he's moving right now, I think, I don't think I can see them getting anything out of this game. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Roy Hodgson lately has just been saying some wild things in his press conferences. So I think they don't even believe. I don't think even he believes that they can pick up.
You remind me of when I've seen him recently. Man's moving like Joe Biden. It's like retired.
Facts. The guy made fun of. The guy made fun of his young kids on the team, then said, you know what, I made a mistake there. Then he did a whole press conference after the Liverpool game there that he ranted for like 7 minutes and then said, yeah, I have to leave before I get in trouble. It was mad. The guy's going crazy.
I feel for him against Liverpool, though, man, because they felt hard done by and it was quite tough for what happened. But they've got a lot of injuries, and especially, I think, third-choice goalkeepers coming in. They've got no chance against City. Had they maybe had a few of those players, and also they don't have a squad good enough to compete without that. So, if you've got 8 injuries and your squad's already wafer thin, you're in big problems. And
let's flip it.
City have a chip on their shoulder, right? City have a new chip on their shoulder with the whole, what LB said, we could get back-to-back wins like in the Premier League for a while. Like, there's been a lot of people throwing punches at Manchester City because they've been itching to do it for a while.
But let me flip it on you. If they drop points at home versus Crystal Palace, everything people have been saying might be true.
I don't think Palace is City's bogey team. City have only lost to Palace twice in the last 8 years. So
really,
yeah,
come on.
It feels more. The Townsend goal always stays in my head.
Tottenham is City's bogey team, not Palace.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Erling Haaland playing?
No.
Is he still out? What's wrong with him?
Actually don't know.
Foot injury, I think it was.
Fair enough. Yeah, but I just can't. It's one of those ones where I love an upset like that. I love an upset when a big team gets beaten by a much smaller team, especially at home. I just don't see it. And the thing is, City had that bad run, but the 2 games you would probably want straight after that is a depleted Palace at home and Luton. They're 2. If, for instance, you would have been away at another tough team and then home to a really good team, it could have been a nice run. But in fairness, your run of games you didn't win were all against quote unquote big teams. So yeah, I think it's a fairly simplistic one for Man City. And as you say, put that pressure on Arsenal that play Brighton, you know, Villa away to Brentford, and then Man United. Well, Liverpool ain't under any pressure this weekend. It's a piece of piss game for them, which we'll get on to a little bit later. I have had the weirdest comment come through. I've got to read this, gents. It says, Terry, you are ready to quit the channel and retire if you win the £2 million from Golden Goals, but you say Poch should leave his money and walk away. There is zero correlation.
He's got you there, bro. He's got you there, Terry.
Me. Ah, no. Yeah, zero. Like, I don't even get it personally. But one, I wouldn't actually retire. That's a joke. I'd invest that money into my channel, make it the best it could be. Secondly, Poch is already a millionaire. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't want the money, but Poch isn't going to be on the breadline. He isn't going to have to cancel Christmas if he quits his job. Man is worth millions, and he'd get another job paying him millions.
If Poch left today, Dortmund will call him.
Loads of clubs would call him. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, that's made me laugh when I saw that comment. I've never seen one like it. Thank you, Luke, for this super chat. Another game tonight that's interesting. Nottingham Forest, Tottenham. How are you feeling about it, Will? Because you guys obviously have had that bad run. You bounced back. You were brilliant against Newcastle. Fantastic. Forest away. How are you feeling about this one? How do you think you'll diddle tonight?
We'll dominate possession. We'll create a ton of chances, and it'll come down to whether we can finish or not. It's literally our problems haven't been over the last couple of weeks. Haven't been the system. Haven't been how we're playing in a match. It's simply just been the quality, right? And that's what happens when you're starting your team. You know, you're missing 4 or 5 players out of your starting 11, and you're bringing in, you know, average players off the bench that shouldn't be playing for your football club. I mean, that's literally. And every game that we sprinkle somebody new back into the squad, the performances get better, better, and better.
Anyone see a banana skin, Egal, in this game tonight? I know you're hoping for a banana skin. Of course, you're a gooner, but do you think Spurs will have enough? And we spoke about the pressure being put on by Man City. You know, a win for Spurs tonight, that puts them on to 33 points, level with City, closing in on Arsenal and Liverpool at the top.
I'm looking at Nottingham Forest's last fixtures, and I'm just seeing a team that's kind of going on their downhill slump. Like these guys, I thought they were going to be comfortable outside of the relegation zone this year, but no wins in their last like 5 games in the Premier League doesn't breed any confidence when Tottenham are coming into town. And I know Tottenham, if they with Son, they only need half a chance, and I think they're probably going to finish off Nottingham Forest. I know I didn't put in my predictions, but if I had a prediction for this game, I'd say Tottenham squeezed by maybe 2 or 3-1.
I don't know, man. I like Forest. I think Forest have been pretty unlucky this year, actually, which some Forest fans might not agree. But whenever I've watched them, they're pretty decent.
They just lost 5-0 to Fulham, bro.
Yeah, but that looks like an outlier, bro. If you look at the other games, 1-1 to Wolves, slim loss against Everton, slim loss to Brighton, slim loss to West Ham. You know, it's only one game that they got panned. They were very unlucky against Liverpool. Not Liverpool. Who was it early on in the season? Was it United early on in the season? Arsenal opening day this season. You guys got a bit lucky there as well. I don't think they've been as bad as some people are making out. I know, obviously, no wins in 5 is not good, but you know, I don't know, man. Every time I watch him, I think they look all right. That striker as well. I forget his name. What's his name? The big striker.
Awani.
Yeah, I like him as well. He's dangerous.
Is he injured?
I think so.
Is he injured? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think Forest can do something. I think if they create an atmosphere, they can have a chance, because I feel like the whole fan base seems to be behind Steve Cooper. I mean, I think even after they got thrashed, they were still chanting his name and etc. So, and they're really behind him over there. So it can be difficult going away on a Friday night under the lights, and it can be a hostile atmosphere. I mean, I've unfortunately enjoyed watching Tottenham play this season, because they play quick football and they're good to watch this season, and they create a lot of chances. So from a footballing basis, I'd expect Tottenham to go there and, you know, impose their style, dominate possession, and create chances. But if Nottingham Forest can get that fan base riled up and create a hostile atmosphere, they can make it a real tough game for Tottenham. And that's the only way to be able to maybe get something.
The only way we don't win this game is if we don't finish our chances. It's going to come down to how clinical we are on the day. There's only been one game this entire season that we haven't done that, and that was against
the thing is, they're good at home as well. Like, I think, like, considering their
best form is away right now. So
yeah, but that's what I was saying. Will, I get where you're coming from, but that's atypically is right for all the big teams when they play the small teams. If you play well and finish your chances, you'll win the game. The question is, do you think you'll play well and do you think you'll finish your chances?
We'll play well,
that's the prediction, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll play well, right? Because we've played well. We played well against Villa. We played well against West Ham. I'm not worried about us playing well. I'm more worried about the quality that we have in our front line right now, right? We're playing with one quality player in our front three. And so for any team, that would be difficult, right? I mean, pull Martinelli and Saka out of that squad. You think Gabriel Jesus is going to convert, right? I mean,
how do you deal with pace? Because Elanga is going to be their biggest outlet.
I'm not worried about pace. Christian Romero's there; he's fine. Ben Davies is playing well in that position, so I can't complain about Ben Davies. The performance he's been putting in, he's not Van de Ven, but he's been putting in a shift. I mean, I don't think there's a single Tottenham fan out there that will complain about the way Ben Davies has been performing in that left center back role. So, but Eric Dyer, sure. Emerson Royale, absolutely, right? But no, I mean, Christian Romero.
It must be nice, man. I miss being that positive about my team.
Yeah, Christian Romero's been playing really well. Was man of the match, against Newcastle last week, and he's been putting in great performances. I'm not worried about it. I think we'll win comfortably. I think we'll win 2-0. So
fair enough. It's going to be. I'm excited, but I think Spurs will win. I think Spurs will win. My prediction for them would be 2-1. I think they'll do it because they're obviously a lot better than Nottingham Forest. But I think it's going to be an entertaining game. In terms of, I think there'll be chances at both ends, and I think it'd be nice and open as well in the right stages of the game as well. So, very, very intrigued to watch this one. Viewers, let us know what your score predictions are for this game, people. Brian here with the super chat says the top 6 are poor versus each other this season.
Not true.
Maybe
they've dropped a lot of points against each other.
Yeah,
right? Draws and.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
but this is how it's always been. Top 6 games are usually where we drop points. It's against the rest of the league where we usually dominate.
Yeah, well, unless you're Man United or Chelsea right now. Oh, yeah, my man's back again. He says it's hypocrisy, Terry. Don't want to leave them. Nobody will leave their money and walk away just like that. Not even Jose did. I thought you would understand. But again, we've had this conversation a lot this week with me. That's not what hypocrisy is. Me winning £2 million as a prize and then jokingly saying I'm going to leave the football terrace if that happened is not the same as a manager who I think, if he's being thrown under the bus by his club, should consider leaving his position. Hypocrisy is not that. Hypocrisy is taking 2 identical situations, believing the same thing about them, but then asking for different outcomes for both scenarios based on a bias, essentially. That's not what this is, my G. Like someone said, I'm a hypocrite because I want Ten Hag out, but I now say that Arsenal were right for keeping Arteta. But no, it's not, because what I think about that situation at Arsenal now, knowing what we know, versus what I think about Man United situation are different. Therefore, I want different outcomes. That still has not been. All 4 days have been called a hypocrite for that, and yet no one can answer me or rebuttal that point. How is it hypocrisy? When
also
they can't, because it's not. Right?
It's not. Exactly. It's
not
crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on with people. People use words like hypocrisy. I don't know what it means.
And also damaging his reputation is a difference. You taking a 2 million doesn't damage your reputation, right? What's happening to Pochettino is essentially damaging his ability to work in the future.
He could stay there for 10 million and it ruins his career and he never earns much more after that, or he can leave and then get bigger other jobs and earn more and go on to earn more money.
Look at Willian. He left Arsenal, went to Brazil, came back. Now he's at Fulham smashing it.
There we go. Absolutely. 2 weeks until Maddison and Van der Ven are back. Is it 2 weeks? So it's at the beginning of January or the end of January?
Yes, I mean, it may not be. It may be a little bit longer for Maddison, but they're both back on grass training right now. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's a positive.
It certainly is. Viewers, make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you're subscribing. Before we talk about Arsenal's game, Egal, I did want to say sorry to you on behalf, not for me personally, but on behalf of the football terrorists. I think that you deserve an outright apology for all the stick and banter you've received over the last few years for claiming that there was an agenda against Arsenal when it came to refereeing. Because in the independent hearing and the documents that have been released, the FA made a genuine argument. And for me, this was a disgrace this week, a genuine argument that they felt that although they essentially know that Arteta didn't break any rules with what he said, they believe he individually should be punished because of the profile he has. So if other managers say what he did, they wouldn't care. But because he's Arteta, he must be punished. Now, for me, that is the definition of an agenda, complete bias officiating, and shows, and I don't think it's solely about Arsenal. It just shows that big clubs will definitely be treated differently from smaller clubs. The FA have admitted it. So it does look, Egal, like you've been wrong. Right, sorry, all along.
Terry, I'm not even going to take a victory lap for this because we already know this. Let's be honest. Arsenal, we've seen numerous games go back all the way to Pepe's handball against Burnley, numerous situations where referees make mistakes. But you know what? The referees have always been bad. What my issue is, if you can't hold them accountable. You cannot question them. You cannot speak about referees. And I don't think it's healthy to have an environment where people are avoid of any criticism. We should be able to criticize them, and managers, players should be allowed to criticize them without it going into absolute carnage like it did in Turkey. You can have a situation where you can say, you know what, I thought this and this was should have gone this way. The referee, I think you might have got it wrong there. Or you should be able to say, you know what, this decision didn't go our way, but I think on another day, maybe the referee would have called it the other way, and I think that was the wrong decision. But guess what? If you do that in today's football, you get banned, you get punished, you get suspended. What Mikel Arteta did and what he said after that Newcastle game, I think was fully deserved. And I don't think he should have got any suspension. And after the subsequent body came out and said all these things, you can clearly see that they wanted to make an example out of him. And they wanted to judge basically Klopp, Arteta, whenever they make a similar comment, they're going to get treated more harshly than the De Zerbis of the world because of how big of a profile our clubs are. And that's a clear agenda. It just goes to show you that we are the high profile games. These referees, sometimes they're going to be hard. They're going to be wrong and strong. And I don't like that. And I just think every time we call out referee decisions, I think these managers and these players should be allowed to do so also, as long as it doesn't lead to absolute carnage like it did in Turkey.
I agree that you should be allowed to criticize referees in a professional manner, but I don't think the way that Arteta went about it was necessarily professional, right? This is never a goal. This is never a goal, right? The league is a disgrace, right? Like, you're not the best league in the world. Those aren't criticisms. Those are slanderous statements because it was a goal.
I think you need to
Will, have you read the independent panel's review of this? Their language very clearly states that there's nothing, the FA have admitted to it, there's nothing that he said that actually broke the rules. So
right, but there's a difference between the actual letter of the law to the spirit of the law, right? He may not have broken any letter of the law, so he shouldn't be punished. If he hasn't broken the letter, he can't be punished. The reason why they wanted him to be punished is because he's broken the spirit of the law, right? So, which is the spirit of the law is to not, slander or say things that can necessarily be. I don't think he should be punished because he hasn't broken the letter, right? But the reason they wanted him to be punished isn't because they hate Arsenal or they hate Mikel Arteta. It's because they felt that he's violated the spirit of the law.
So where does it stop, Terry? Where does it stop?
But that's not. So I just want to say, but that's negated by the fact that what their argument is that Arteta was more worthy of punishment than other managers due to his high-profile status. So I get what you're saying, but you can't turn around and say Mikel Arteta can't say that because he's Arsenal manager, but Big Ange can say it because Spurs have a smaller following.
No, I agree. That's wrong.
That wrecks and that's my point here. That wrecks the integrity of the game. And when you look at their actual claims against him, this is what they claimed. Essentially, his comments might damage the wider interests of football, which they might damage the image of the game, and in some ways bring the game into disrepute. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, this is the example I would give. Who lives in London here? Nathan. Okay, Nathan. So what Nathan does, and London as a whole has got, it's going crazy for muggings and street robberies. It's like no one's ever seen it before. The police and the local government are doing nothing about it. It's getting worse. And then Nathan's part of a group trying to fix this. And he goes on TV and he says, this is happening on a daily basis. It's increasing. We're getting no support and help. And it's a disgrace. And we need to be protected more. And then the police knock on his door and arrest him. And the judge puts him in prison for bringing the country into disrepute because it might stop tourists coming to London because he's highlighted the problems. That is how I read this. They basically said, look, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal with their letters, Jurgen Klopp as well, by the way, because a lot of ex-refs have gone for him and Arteta saying they're responsible.
Walton, what a disgrace he is.
They're responsible for a referee being punched in Turkey. Like that player woke up and went, oh, Klopp said it's okay to punch him. Victimhood out of control. The idea is they're trying to punish Mikel Arteta for rightfully calling out their nonsense. And I understand there may be a better and more professional way of saying it, but at the same time, they didn't mention that in any of their reports. That wasn't in their arguments. And the reason that I stand by Arsenal and Arteta on this, the reason I stand by Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool on this, is it could be your team next. It could be your club next. It's slippery slope nonsense. And if we as football fans defend the referees here, defend the FA here, you are opening up a can of worms and you're setting a precedent that one day could damage you. And everyone needs to stand up for this. You should be able to call out this nonsense.
But shouldn't there be a balance?
By the way, I just want to say one more thing. Will, they actually determined that what Mikel Arteta said was not an insult to the match officials on the game. It was more to the whole system, as Terry said. So he never actually,
and that's why he didn't get.
He never
punished.
Actually acted in an unprofessional manner.
No,
because he wasn't directing it. He wasn't directing it at an individual. You can criticize a system, but when you're criticizing an individual personally, then you're making it personal and unprofessional.
Right, but and that's why he didn't get punished, because he didn't mention a direct individual's name, right? Even though he inferred it, he never mentioned it. So that's why he didn't get punished.
1 second.
That's the letter of the law.
By the way, also, the Premier League themselves have, in the document, stated that they have similar concerns of same things that Mikel Arteta brought up in his statements. So it is already there. It's blatant to see.
Egal, isn't this a wider issue, though? Isn't this a wider issue? Because I understand maybe on this occasion, Arteta was picked on unfairly. But how many occasions are there where the referees come out, the managers come out after a game and they berate the referee and they almost apply pressure in get press conferences before the game or after the game so that the next one goes in their favor? Referees are under a microscope like crazy.
I have a simple solution, but I think you guys are not going to like it because a lot of people don't like to change the game. But my solution is actually add challenges so the teams and they can challenge you during the game. Because now,
let them ref. Let them ref and stop moaning off every single decision.
The VR system currently seems to be just get on with the game as quick as possible. We need to keep it moving as quick as possible.
But what is that?
Even if in the game,
like Arsenal fans, let me give you an example.
1 second. Let me land, bro. Let me land, and then you'll get my point. Let me land, and then you'll get my point. My main point is, at this moment in time, we've seen the VR decisions coming out. They seem to be moving so quickly that they just want to get on with the game. And they don't actually seem like they're trying to get the correct decision and determine the exact correct decision. So a challenge would allow the team, the player, and the manager to get the correct decision on the day because they'll challenge them directly.
Where that doesn't work unless you fix the people doing it is you could challenge the Newcastle goal and they still give you the decision that you didn't like. So that doesn't fix anything for me. It's about changing who governs it and having independent reviews. That's the only way you're going to make this better, because as we've said before, you can't disallow the goal. Let the goal against Arsenal stand. And in the first game returning after that international break, allow the smallest little nudge on Alisson, and then disallow the goal. That is the inconsistencies. You can't, and rightfully should call out the fact that Crystal Palace got a penalty against Liverpool. 3 hours later, an identical foul on Jesus was not given. That is what needs to be called out and where the consistency needs to be. And I understand the way maybe Mikel Arteta come across could be seen as problematic. And if he didn't hire, and by the way, he had to hire a very expensive criminal lawyer to get him off of an FA charge, he would have been punished. The FA would have punished him if they were able to, and if they didn't go out of their way, Arsenal, to make sure they supported their manager and bring in a top quality lawyer.
For that reason,
for me, it's a fact they made an argument that it's okay for other managers to say it, but not Mikel Arteta should worry all fans of big clubs. And I know that there's stick, Spurs with Arsenal, and they want to see Arsenal in the mud, and they get it. But this is bigger than our club rivalries and the banter we have with one another. Because for years I've felt this has gone on, and I do agree with you, Alex, that managers and people will try to influence referees to give the decisions in their favour. So it can definitely work both ways. But at the same time, VAR should have stopped all of that.
But you know what, Terry?
This nonsense. The VAR. Oh, we don't want them to re-referee the games. Yes, we fucking do. We want the right decision.
It doesn't help getting.
No one complains, and if the consistent decision happened, whether you like the law or not, nobody complains. Most of the complaints we have, I've seen 5 penalties given for that in the last 2 weeks. Now my team gets it, and we weren't awarded a penalty. That shouldn't happen with VAR. If we as fans remember all these incidents, how can the professionals that are paid very well that are running it not remember them? It, for me, is just catastrophically bad. And it happens to all clubs. But for me, the way they've been targeting Arteta, the fact he got booked for celebrating the other day, fuck me.
That was pathetic.
Then Chris Wilder runs down the touchline when his team scores and doesn't get booked. Those things have to be called out by football fans.
Can I just say something, Terry, on this?
We call that out.
It happens with players too, not just. It happens with players too, not just managers, right? For example, you take the Romero tackle in the last game, right? You yourself, you said you didn't think it was a red, right? Gallagher came out afterwards and said it wasn't a red, right? And everybody else said it was a red. But they're going to give Romero a yellow card faster than they will anyone else because he has that reputation, right? And now that Arteta's created that perception, he's going to get yellow cards faster than a manager who doesn't.
Can I rebut that though? Because I'll give you an example. They created this rule anyways about the management touchline based on Arteta and his behaviour and how much it was highlighted in the media last season. His antics on the touchline is what created this whole
right. That's what I'm saying.
But then you have a club chest bumping a goalkeeper in the middle of the game.
For 2 3
he should be given a card too. But what I'm saying is the game.
No, what I'm trying to say to you is right, for 2 or 3 seasons when Klopp did it, right, it wasn't really an issue. It was never. They never changed the rules. However, last season after Arteta's antics, as they like to put it, it was then implemented as okay. Now there's rules on the touchline of what a manager and his staff can do, and there's been bookings and etc. Right, and everything. The biggest issue for me in general is there's this whole thing where the FA are trying to silence managers of what you can police and what you can and can't say, right? And
yeah, because you can't let them say too much, though. Like as an organization,
hold on. But that takes what is at football. As a fan, I want to hear my manager.
You shouldn't be able to intimidate the officials,
right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
What do you mean intimidate the officials?
I'll give you an example.
I've never seen a manager come out and say, if we don't get a penalty next game, I'm going to fucking knock you out, bruv. Yeah. That's intimidation.
I'm not talking about intimidation, physical intimidation.
How do you expect them to change?
For example,
sorry. Well, what are they intimidating them with? What is the threat?
They can't be perfect. They can't be perfect. If they were perfect.
Hang on, stop. That isn't the question. How are they intimidating them? What is the threat behind the intimidation?
I'll tell you. So, for example, they're not doing it now because the rule exists that they're not allowed to speak out, right? If that rule didn't exist and they were allowed to just do whatever, you have managers that have high profiles that are famous, for example, Jose Mourinho or Pep, and they could literally berate an individual referee every single time that they come into a consistency with it. And that referee could come under so much heat and pressure that he starts to call things in their favor in order to avoid that pressure. That's why the rule exists.
Anthony Taylor with Chelsea is a perfect example of it. We literally nitpick. Before the game, the minute he's announced as a Chelsea ref, my fan base has got a whole agenda. Excuse written. We can't win this game. He's reffing. So all of a sudden, he's human, right? We need to remember there's a human aspect of it. In his head, he's either going to make decisions for Chelsea or he's going to say, you know what, screw him. They're going to abuse me anyway.
One second.
So I'm going to go the other direction.
If he was competent in his job, there wouldn't be that issue.
I need to say something. Right? Do you guys not realize that a referee had to be basically sacked last year because he made a mistake that cost us 2 points? They gave a goal that didn't count. Also, Mikel Arteta was upset about the situation that happened between Tottenham and Liverpool, and he said these things shouldn't be happening after that goal was disallowed in that game. Then it happens to us, rightfully so. He can call out that these things continuously happen. Then he even went as far back to look at incidents before then to speak about some of these incidents that have been happening at our club. Personally, for me, I think and I feel like at times, as an Arsenal fan, that I look at some of these games and these refereeing decisions, and they continuously make these mistakes. They deserve to be criticized.
We lost the Champions League final due to a bogus call.
They need to be called out. And if they're not being held accountable by us as fans, the managers, and the clubs, they will continuously get away with being absolutely terrible.
Tribalism is holding us back.
Sorry, I want to say, Nathan, like, again, I understand influence, and I think what you were suggesting with Joe said he was trying to influence the referee. I don't call that intimidation. Intimidation for me is either like physical or some type of other harm you're going to bring them, making them scared, making them terrified, being menacing. I don't think that's what Fergie and those guys did. Yes, they tried to influence the referees to give them decisions, but not in a way that made a referee fearful of losing his job or losing money or his family being attacked or anything like that. I think intimidation.
But that happened literally after the Europa League final.
Okay, that's one example. Again, but we're talking about one example. That for me, that to me is an example that proves the rule. That is an outlier. That isn't what majority of the time.
No, but that's what the rule is there to protect. That's my point.
No,
right?
Exactly.
Okay. But that's something that's happened once where Jose went after that guy, and it was Anthony Taylor, wasn't it?
Yeah, but if there was no rule, it would happen more often. That's my point.
The referees have been doing this since before the rule. The referees have been called out before the rule, and clearly they're being called out after the rule as well. I don't think the majority of the time when I've heard managers, in the years I've watched football talk about it, have been trying to intimidate and scare and be menacing.
It's not intimidation. What I mean by intimidation is not physical.
I didn't say physical, but
okay,
I think
there's more types of intimidation.
Intimidation implies you're trying to scare someone into doing something.
No. Intimidation could be intellectual. It could be influential.
I understand what you're saying, but intimidation implies you're scaring someone into making a decision. Not you're turning around and you're influencing someone. Is where the word intimidation is not a night. No one wants to be told they're intimidating. Everybody would like to be told they're influencing and they're influential. There's differences. You're making it sound like these managers are out here trying to bully referees, and I don't believe that to be the case. I think they're
not trying to now because they'll get in trouble. Well, I'm saying, okay, you're misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying they're bullying people now. They can't because the rule prevents them from doing so.
What rule?
I'm saying the rule of not being able to speak out about referees after the match, right? That rule existing in the FA.
You cannot question their competence.
Right. It's because you've never been able to bullying.
I've seen Fergie was banned for calling out referees before. You've always been banned for doing it. It's not. They might have readjusted a rule, but you've always been in trouble if you said too much about a referee. However, you should be able to call out these poor decisions. And one thing you said earlier that's really interesting. I'm very passionate about this because VAR was meant to fix it. Yes, they're human, and in real time on the pitch, you're going to make mistakes. No issue with that. It's what VAR is here to fucking stop. With replays and super slow-mos, when it's a blatant penalty that you've given to everybody else, there is no reason not to give it.
I agree.
But Terry, can I ask you a question? I agree with you. But you know, when we're watching live, we've heard Jermaine Genius or whoever's on the co-commentary. How many times? Oh, how long is this taking? This is blatant and obvious.
This is what I hate.
Because when they do make a mistake because they're rushing, people cook them, so they're going to take their time to make sure they get the right decision.
I agree with that. I agree with that, which is why I don't change my stance. I don't care how long it takes. I want the right decisions.
That for me is more, but you're asking for consistency as well. And consistency is not possible with multiple individuals because they're different. They have their own subjective opinion of how the rules.
No. Subjectivity becomes objectivity with enough data, as you know. So, for instance, if you give penalties every time, like 9 times out of 10, when a player gets caught, like Jesus was, that amount of data of they're all penalties changes it from being a subjective decision at large.
That has to be directed by the above organization to say that every single time this scenario happens, it must be given as a penalty.
I was going to get to that. Yeah. That's the whole point. It needs to be run better. It needs to be run better. Competent people running it to ensure these decisions are not being missed. I don't care what the commentator says.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're going to get into an infinite.
I'm not finished. Like I'm not worried about what Jermaine Genius says. It's about them understanding consistency. We as fans see the inconsistencies. Someone at PGMOL, at the FA, has to see it. And I understand they're never going to be perfect. And I don't think anybody's asking for complete, like, inhumane levels of perfection around this. But some of the inconsistencies are so blatant and obvious, it's crazy. And if football fans, if managers and clubs can't call it out, how is it going to to be fixed? Whether they do it
what I'm saying is they do. They do.
You know what's even more crazy? The Derby said he doesn't like English managers.
They do though. They have these meetings before the season starts, and they say, okay, this season, for example, the dissent yellow cards that they were just handing out like candy at the beginning of the season, right? Yeah. They had a meeting at the beginning of the season, said this is how we're going to implement and apply this rule. And they applied it consistently across the league. But you can't, there's going to be individual situations. If you did that for every single situation, you're going to have an infinite number of possibilities that could happen that you have to make a specific rule for. At some point, unless AI is refereeing the game at some point, which then you bring all, it's completely objective at that point in time. That's going to be consistent regardless, right? Because it's a machine doing it, not a human. But each individual human has, when they read the laws, right, 12.3 or 12.1, what do they think reaches this threshold and how they apply it? You can't be consistent with humans unless it's the same human. One person can be consistent, 10 people can't.
I do think we can get, I understand you can't be 100% consistent, but then let's not be overly pedantic to that point. You can get much more consistency than we are seeing. The level of inconsistency is so vast, it's ridiculous in my opinion. So no one, again, let's not go to the nth degree and say, well, it's never going to be 100% perfect. Nobody expects that. But some of the decisions that we have seen have been crazy. Look at the two decisions 1 week after the other that Wolves got. How it happened 2 weeks running is crazy. It's like God made it happen to test them. Two opponents kicked the floor instead of being caught by a Wolves player, and twice it was given as a penalty. For me, the referee in VAR should have been instantly dismissed for that.
Why the ref? Why the ref? For me, it's the VAR.
No, I understand that. No, you're right on that. Yeah, you're right. Real time. That's wrong with me. The VAR should be absolutely
I agree with that.
gone. So listen, people, we're going to move on to talk about the game in itself tomorrow. How are you feeling about it, Nathan? Up against Brighton, who in the league are not in good form. Strangely, though, their European form is absolutely sensational after a poor start. Are you confident that you can beat them at the Emirates? That's what you're playing it.
Yeah, fairly confident. I mean, we haven't got the best record against Brighton, unfortunately, so that instills a little bit of doubt. But when you look at the injuries and you even look at our performances, I mean, we weren't clinical against Villa, but I thought we did play well, right? And there's criticisms in terms of offensively. I feel like we needed more cutting edge, and that's what really cost us in that game. So also, when you consider the fact that midweek was a dead rubber, we managed to rest quite a few players. I feel like, and they had a big game against Marseille where they had to, play their strongest 11 to go out on top on the group. I feel like we'll go in there a little bit fresher. We got more riding on the game. And I feel like, with Liverpool next week, I feel like we need the 3 points. So just need lads to go there and get it done, really. I know Brighton played some good football, but they are missing some big players. I know, and Fatty's out. I know Ferguson hasn't been hasn't lit up as well as he had earlier on in the season. So I'm feeling fairly confident despite our, not so great record at home against Brighton.
How about yourself, Egal? Confident the win? It feels again like your fan base needs a win because you guys have been arguing this week about you players not playing, and also when Arsenal don't win, there always seems to be a bit of a cat fight amongst you all.
Bro, I honestly, I haven't gotten involved in this one. It's honestly, I think majority of people just let logic win in this situation at least. Let's not fight over silliness. With the injuries Brighton have, surely we have to beat Brighton, and I want a comprehensive win versus Brighton. Because if you guys don't know, the last time we beat Brighton, I think, was in 2021. Like, we haven't beaten them at home in a long time. We played our last 6 games, and we've only won that one game in 2021. And they even beat us in the cup, in the League Cup last year to knock us out. Or was the FA Cup? I forget which one.
League Cup.
It was the League Cup, yeah. So with their injuries to Solly March and some of these guys, Webster and Danny Welbeck, I think we can do it, and I'm pretty confident that we will be able to control the game. It's just similar to what Will said. Our issue has been basically finishing our dinner because we do everything that we need to do. It's just, are we going to take our chances? And when we do take our chances, the floodgates opens up and we end up putting 3 or 4 past them. So I think this is the game that we get ourselves going. We start scoring the goals again. You're going to see Saka coming up with a good performance. Hopefully Martinelli has a good performance, and it just comes down to what midfield are we going to play. I think we're gonna sorry, not the midfield. It just comes down to how the midfield is going to perform, because our midfield has been bossing these games. It's just when we create the chances, are we clinical? So yeah, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard. I need a good performance from those guys, because against Aston Villa, they didn't have their shooting boots on. And if we do have our shooting boots on, I'm going to go with the 3-0 Arsenal victory.
First, I'm going to the history, me. I reckon Brighton are going to do you, bro. I reckon.
I agree.
Yeah, 3 wins in 12. 3 wins in 12. That's not great. I'm going to go with a Brighton win. I reckon they're obviously top. I think they topped the group, did they? Did they top the group?
Yeah.
You know, that's
played well, very well.
Matoma's back.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be a long day at the office for you, Egal.
But did you not just see Brighton just draw against Burnley 1-1 like the last week? Like,
yeah, but Matoma only came on for like 30 minutes towards the end of the game because he's getting back his fitness. He should start.
But you also played against
think
Arsenal,
Arsenal
right? So
I also think Arsenal are going to suit, like, Brighton will suit Arsenal, and Arsenal will suit Brighton in the way both teams will want to play. Like, I don't think Arsenal fans will accept Brighton coming to the Emirates with the record you have against them and just dominate in possession and just wait to hit them on the counter-attack. So you're going to want to start playing. They're going to press you high, and it's going to be a good, open, expansive game. Like, it's going to be fun to watch. So I think Brighton could do it as well. I think they'll get a draw. I think it won't be 3 points.
I think you guys are giving Brighton too much.
I think that's the best result.
Yeah, how about yourself, Will? How do you see it going, mate?
I think if Arsenal's playing well, I think I see a draw. Brighton could easily beat them, yeah, at home.
So you're saying if Arsenal play well, we draw?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was not a correction. That's honestly what you think. You think if we play well, the best we're going to get at home versus Brighton is a draw?
Yeah.
Based on what?
That's his opinion, man.
Based on what?
Based on, I don't know, history, the way that they play, the way that you play. Which one would you like me to talk about
you throw logic out the window. You're just putting your Spurs hat on.
No, I literally
just told you.
Three logical positions.
Why you so
you completely just didn't listen to a word I said and just be like, oh, just because you're a Spurs fan. No, I literally said because of the way they play football, because of the way you have been playing football this season, and because of historical evidence that we've seen over the past 8 seasons.
Well, do you not think with their injury
seasons?
Would you not think with their injury problems this season, as well as their form this season, as well as also
but their form is on the upward turn. That's what I'm saying. They're getting players like Matoma back in their squad.
Can I finish? As well as the fact that they had a big game midweek, right, which they had to go all out for. Otherwise, they would have had to play a playoff game in the Europa League. So, you know, they won that game in the dying embers of the game as well. That wasn't a game where they were winning earlier on. So, do you not feel that plays a part? Because most teams tend to have a drop off after Europe, right? There's historically statistics that show that after a big European fixture, teams do not. That's where teams tend to drop the most points. You're a stats person, so I'm sure you'll know. We'll have the stats there.
You guys traveled though, didn't you? You guys traveled away.
Most of our first teamers didn't play.
Yeah, well, but they still traveled second half of the game,
and they still traveled
to Amsterdam.
What's the
like? What you're saying is okay. There is a chance that you could win, of course, right? I just don't think it's the most likely scenario, right? I think the most likely scenario is probably a draw. I think the next likely scenario is that you lose, and then the scenario after that is that you win. Right? Out of the 3 possibilities, that's the order by I think of probabilities.
So you're saying based on your assumption of going into the game, you're saying Brighton are favorites at the Emirates.
Yeah, to draw, yeah. They have been favorites at the Emirates over the last 6 times they've played you at the Emirates.
Arsenal victory. If you have the third likeliest result to be an Arsenal victory, you're basically saying Brighton are favorites going into this game.
Egal. Okay. If we were playing Manchester City at home, if Tottenham were playing Manchester City at home, what would you say the likely result would be?
You guys would probably beat them.
Okay, why?
Because you've done it before.
Okay, so now that they've beaten you 5 out of the last 6 times that they've played you at your ground, regardless of injuries or who's been playing or whatnot, why are you asking me that I'm not logical when your logic for why we would beat City at our ground is because we normally do it, when they normally beat you at your ground? So the fact that I'm saying you draw them is giving you guys credit for being a better squad to them. And I think it's hilarious that you guys think yourself title challengers and you're arguing about, well, maybe we can beat them because they're tired because they played on Thursday. Like, that's awful.
Hold on, I'm just throwing in just the stats basically of what's happened, the actuality of what's happened. I'm not saying maybe we can beat them. I feel like we will beat them. Things play a part, right? We're looking at the whole.
There we go, base.
Right? Yeah. So there's a difference. I'm not challenging your opinion. You're entitled to your own opinion, right? So you believe that. That's a valid point, right? History doesn't favor us. That's cool. I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you because that makes sense. But in my opinion, I feel like when you consider their injuries, when you consider what they've had to... Yeah, sorry.
Oh, wow. We're losing you. You're
Yeah, I said sorry. So when you consider their injuries, what they've gone through midweek, that for me adds gives me a greater confidence going into the game, despite our history. That's all my opinion. I'm not going to see. I haven't sat here and tried to rebuttal what you said.
That's fine. I haven't rebutted you. I haven't told you guys were dumb for having your opinion.
Yeah,
I just gave mine. That's all it was.
Yeah,
you guys took offense by my opinion. I didn't say anything about yours.
I don't know. You know what? You're not the only person on the panel to say Arsenal is going to draw against Brighton. Hey, the Premier League is a Premier League. Anyone can beat anybody, right?
She said it wasn't logical. I was just doing it because I'm Spurs. But LB said it, right? The Chelsea guy said it as well.
Yeah, I think we're at home. I think some of you guys are right to draw on history, but guess what? History is meant to be broken, and we did that numerous times throughout last season and this season. So we're gonna do it again. We're gonna beat Brighton, and I don't think it's gonna be a close game. As I told you guys, I think it's gonna be a 3-0 victory. So all of this stuff about a draw, when we come back and we win 3-0, you're gonna say, hey, you're supposed to beat them anyways.
There's a challenge here. Maybe this is something that Will said on another show about something else, but TBG says, what about historical fallacies? I assume that's at you because I've heard you mention fallacies before on shows you do, Will.
Yeah, so if I were to base my opinion strictly on history, right, that would be a fallacious argument to have, right? If that was the sole thing that I based it on, but that wasn't the sole thing I based it on, right? I based it on the way they play football, the way Arsenal's played football, and historical inferences, right? So there's a difference when you're looking at independent statistical events, right? So this is an independent statistical event, right? What happened in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future, right? But when you're doing a probability analysis, for example, the sun will come up tomorrow, right? Do I know that it will? No, but I know the heat of the sun. I know that it's not in any danger of all of a sudden disappearing, and it's come up every single day for the last billion years, right? So those three things together, right? Knowing that there's not a problem with it, right, allows me to predict that the sun will come up tomorrow.
I understand that. Good challenge from both there. I like a little bit of that. We're obviously going to be doing the predictions when we do Golden Goals, people. So get the app downloaded, get signed up now. It's free. You don't need to pay to enter. And if you get 6 scores correct, it is 2 million, in the famous words of Del Boy Trotter, £2 million tax-free as well, lad. When you win money in the UK in games, it's tax-free. You don't get taxed on it. It's not like in America where they screw you still. Tax-free, baby. You got to be over the age of 18, so get that downloaded now. TBG says he gets away with too much hypocrisy, is what you said there.
Go look what that word means and then try to see if I actually use that or not.
Cook, bro. Cook.
I like it. I love a little bit of challenge. Before we play Golden Goals, though, there is a small matter to address today. And we'll go to JJ first on this. And I'm going to ask you this question very directly, mate. How badly do you think you're going to destroy Manchester United on Sunday?
You know what? I don't think it will be as big of a beating as people think. I think we still beat Man United, but I don't think it's going to be a 7-0 or whatever. I think Liverpool like doing stuff the hard way. And if you recall, when we beat Man United 7-0, Liverpool were in the dumps. So no one expected us to be able to go and do that, and we destroyed them. I think we still batter them. I think United are they're in a terrible place. But for people that are saying it's going to be 8-0, another 7-0, nah, I just think it'll be a comfortable win. I just don't think. Sorry to say, Terry, I don't think your players have the bottle to come to Anfield at this moment in time, and neither does your manager. So yeah, comfy. Do I give my prediction 3-4-1, whatever it might be? I think we come out easy winners, but I don't think it will be as easy as people say. I think we'll make it a bit tricky. I think we might start off poorly and then have to come into the game. But yeah, nothing really to say on Liverpool's side. It's more to do with what United turns up, and I just don't have any faith in the players anymore. This cycle's happened too many times to back them in any way. I think with any kind of that proper face and front. So yeah, man.
Are you saying you're going to beat them by 3-0 and 4-0, but it's not an easy win?
3-1, 4-1, no, but it's not going to be a 7. A lot of us fans are predicting 7, 8-0, 9-0. I just don't think it will.
That's the new standard. 7 is easy. Anything less than 7 is not easy.
Of course. 7 is easy. I mean, what is 7 not easy?
No, I'm saying you beat somebody 3-1, 4-1. It's relatively easy.
No, look, we know Liverpool can score. Are Liverpool going to be able to keep them out? We've struggled to do that in numerous games. So I see United scoring. United could score first, and we can make it. That's still difficult to come back.
I'm
from
just saying,
1-0
3-goal
down
margin is
and
quite simple.
No, it is, but it's context, isn't it? So if you're winning 3-0 majority of the game and then they score in the last minute, then of course that's an easy game. But if United score first and Liverpool have to then kind of wake up and switch on and then score 3 in the second half, then that's a bit more of a tricky game. Do you know what I mean? Scores don't paint the whole picture, in my opinion.
This whole game reminds me of the reverse of last year, because it was United fans that felt that way about Liverpool. And, United fans felt it will be an easy win. And I was saying this to KJ before the show. So I'm just interested to see how it all plays down, because I think United were coming off the Carabao Cup win, and you lot were kind of in a slump, and Liverpool fans were a bit down and weren't too confident going into that trip. And I wonder if the reverse happens, if we're all confident.
I thought about it. The difference is, I think mentally, Liverpool players didn't check out. I just think Liverpool players couldn't do what was being required of them. Our midfield couldn't run like that whole season. This season, I think like the players have checked out. Numerous players have checked out. They're just like, yeah, it is what it is. I'm hearing reports Jadon Sancho might leave in January, but is waiting to see if Ten Hag goes. You've got that whole rift with Varane. I don't know what's going on with Marcus Rashford. Is he? I don't know. Is he?
He had the sniffles.
Oh, the sniffles. Oh, that's great, isn't it?
We all have.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's a different mentality. It's a different mentality. If this was, I think the mentality at Liverpool at the time is completely different, and you always saw kind of just sparks. You could see sparks. So we went and started that game against Real Madrid in the Champions League really, really well, and then we fell off. United have just been poor. And it's the players checking out more than anything. It's just they're not trying. It's the same things you keep hearing. I don't want to keep repeating it, but Roy Keane's probably tired of saying it. You can replay anything that he's spoken about 4 years ago and play it today, and it still applies. It's just at this moment in time, it's boring. I can see it on Terry's face. You're just bored now.
Yeah. I mean, I what you said, Nath. The only way United get a result is 2 or 3 terrible mistakes at the back from Liverpool that gift us goals. Probably need them to get a player sent off as well, and then they miss all their golden chances. So there is a very, very, very slim possibility that the stars align and that happens. But that's as rare as rocking horse shit, legitimately. And a lot of United fans are hating on me. They're in my DMs. All the threats are coming. Keep them coming, by the way, people. I enjoy it. It's fun because I know none of you would actually do anything. Oh, you're too pessimistic. You shouldn't write your team off. What? There is no argument to suggest United are going to get a positive result out this game. Right now, what feels like a positive result is losing by no more than 3 goals.
I agree.
That is what feels like a positive result for me, because we are all at sea and we can't even stay in shape. Can't even stay in shape. So even the thought of going, right, let's put 5 at the back, 4 in midfield, be compact, hard to break down. We ain't got the discipline, the energy, the mentality to do that.
That's what it is. It's the mentality, Terry.
We don't have the mentality. We are absolutely weak when it comes to our concentration, our work rate. And these things should be the baseline prerequisite attribute that any player that is paid what they're paid at Man United has, and we don't have that. So I hate this game for so many reasons. It's that my 2 favorite games of the year, home and away to Liverpool. It's the first 2 games I check on the fixture list, and I'm absolutely dreading it. I am scared it could be an even bigger defeat than last year. If they score a few early goals and our heads go and we stop playing, we stop running, we are in big, big trouble. And insult to injury, it's on my fucking birthday. So it's all happening on the same day, which is why tomorrow night I'm out with the boys. We're out with the kids. We're staying up all night watching. I'm having a good time. Because I've got to have a good time. I'm going to have such a good time. I hope to be pretty numb, not dead, but just numb by the time that game starts at 4:30, because it's going to be hell. It is going to be 2 hours of hell.
But do you think you'll wake up in the morning, Terry? That's the question.
Yes.
No, I will. Yes. I will. Multiple reasons. I have little children, so I have zero choice. And a puppy called Rocky that will want me to wake him up. He'll be waking me up. He cries if I don't get up by about 8 o'clock. He wants to walk. But yeah, I'll be up. I won't miss it. And I'll be here afterwards when we get beat. I just hope it isn't that bad. And that's as best I can hope for, because we are an abomination, top to bottom, inside out.
Do you think the board have waited for this game to then have a reason to go and sack? Or, I mean, they've got a reason anyway, but do you think they're using this as a smokescreen? Like, no matter what the result is, unless you get like a ridiculously positive result, it could be a 3-1 loss, it could be a 2-0 loss, and it's just, that's it, Ten Hag, that's the final nail in the coffin.
Like if you win, by some chance you win, because there is that chance. I don't think it's a good one, but there is a chance.
Yeah.
If you win, do you think they sack him still, or do you think
that's the problem? That's how poor my club is run, right? Let's just say they're sitting going, if he wins, we keep him. If he loses badly, we get rid of him. If it's a small defeat, we'll prolong for a couple of weeks. If that's where you're looking at, you know, if you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, do you know what? We're going to go away for the weekend. If it goes well, I'm staying with her. If it's awful, I'm ending it straight away. If it's okay, I'll give it another couple of weeks. You should just end it there and then anyway. Yeah. And if that is even a thought in the minds of our board, he should be sacked regardless, because you don't really trust him. And one thing I'd say is this, and Man United fans may disagree, even if we win, do I think it's going to galvanize us and make us better and make us improve? No. What I will say is this, though, on the flip side, if Man United get a positive result, it's one of the most embarrassing results in Klopp's history at Liverpool. Man United should be getting nowhere near you. We are that bad. So that's where I would say there is a little bit of pressure on Liverpool. If they don't get a good result against us, I think that's more embarrassing and more an indictment of them than it is anything else.
What I would say, though, is Liverpool haven't had a big statement win this season, if I'm being fully honest. Like we've won games. We've won games, but we've been quite poor even in recent games. We haven't been flat out, I mean, fantastic in every single game. I think we can still get got at.
Bro, this Sunday, we will be there. We will be there this Sunday, bro. This is the statement win, man. I'm telling you. United have got nothing to offer.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I hope this is it. If not, we've got Arsenal. Hopefully, maybe we win this game and then we've got Arsenal. And that might be the
thing is, these players, these United players, they do not have the minerals to go to Anfield and put in a fight. Because that is the thing. That is the thing that they've got to go do. They've got to go to Anfield and prepare to go to war with these Liverpool players. And they're not going to do that, man. These players are a bunch of toxic, overplayed, absolute twats, who need to be rid from the club. And the fact is, these players will let United fans down once again. They'll let the manager down once again, even though the manager's to blame for a lot of the stuff that's gone on. And it's not going to be a good afternoon. I do not see a world in which United get a positive result. I think it's going to be 5-0. I think it'll be 5-0 to Liverpool. I completely agree with Terry. Anything less than a 3-0 defeat, and I think United fans should be just taking a little bit of a thumbs up on that, because it could be so embarrassing. I don't think people understand how toxic these United players are. You had Rashford sat on the bench the other day saying, what the fuck am I doing here, or whatever. Do you not understand how toxic that is? You got one of your players who's come through your academy saying, what am I doing here? I can't believe that has not made front pages in British newspapers. That is horrendous. Horrendous. And he just gets away with it. I'm looking forward to this Sunday, man. I'll be watching it. The title race is on hold. I want Liverpool to crush this team and this manager who's a fraud, who calling out Klopp and Pep saying, era's come to an end. Who does he think he is, man? Seriously, who does this guy think he is? Era's come to an end. Absolute clown. Well, we will be there. We'll all be tuned in on this Sunday. And if you get that beat down that we all think you're going to be doing, then I'm waiting for the statements, man. I'll be waiting for the Man United statements. You know what I mean? Because it's got to come. These players are washed, man.
Terry, do you think with Bruno's suspension that it may actually help you in a sense where you might set up more defensively? I'm just asking a question because
it's a good question. Man United, one of the biggest issues, everything that RB said, by the way, someone in the comments said no Man United fans ever said there what RB has said. I agree with everything LB said, sorry. I agree with LB 100%. You ain't been watching my channel enough. Everything he's just said there, I've been telling you, man, for a long, long time. Man United fans do this. We've got this inner toxicity amongst us as well. You know, I've just seen people, I'm not naming any of them, quote tweeting saying goodbye to Donny van der Beek. Oh my God, he was such a good player. I can't believe he didn't make it here. Completely different energy they have to say Bruno Fernandes. But then there's a reverse group that love Bruno Fernandes and will hate a Donny and hate a Martial. I just sit there as a Man United fan and I'm like, I'm just disappointed none of them have worked. You know, I care about the club. But we do this as a fan base. We push this notion of when we played well against Chelsea, there was no Rashford, and everyone went, "See, you dropped Rashford, better team." He didn't play he didn't play in the next game. He got beat by Bournemouth 3-0 at home. You know, beaten at home by them for the first time in our history. This notion that if Bruno goes, we become a better team. It's so basic, it's so simplistic, and it's just wrong. I believe that we're probably going to have to sell Bruno Fernandes because I don't think he should be our captain. And I think when you strip a captain, you should sell them on. So I believe that with the new regime coming in to run the football operation, hopefully a new manager, hopefully a new recruitment team, one of the big sort of sacrificial lambs, if you want to call him that, of the team is a Bruno Fernandes as an example. And I think there needs to be a number of people like that sacrificed and moved on. You might not be able to do it instantly if a new manager comes in February, but come the summer, they have to be moved out and we have to improve because it is the lack of effort and trying. And the saddest thing about Bruno for me, and there's been multiple players like him, they weren't bad when they arrived. It's why when young Kobe comes on right now, he looks good because he hasn't been ruined by the first team. But give him 6 months in a year and he'll be suckered into it. Garnacho isn't improving how we hoped that he would. You know, the Man United fans turning on Casemiro at the beginning of the season. Oh, his legs are gone. His legs are gone. No, it's a system. And now we know it's a system because everyone who's played in that position has been dragged apart in that exact same way. The problem is with Man United fans, we spend, and I think this happens to clubs that struggle. And I'm sure Alex recognizes this within Chelsea. And I'm sure that Nathan and Egal remember when it was like this all the time at Arsenal. Everything becomes about this player versus that player, this person versus that person, rather than thinking about what's better for the football club. The wins that fans can get, we're no longer winning trophies. So it's about winning almost like ideological battles online that my player is going to outperform your favorite player and this manager is going to be better than the previous guy. That's what we find ourselves arguing over all the time because that's the only way we can get a win if you see it in that way. And obviously all the struggling team fan bases do it. And it makes me sick, really. It makes me sad that we're in that position. So I don't know, man. This weekend is going to be I honestly, if I could sleep throughout the whole weekend, I wish I could. If I could take a pause.
Just to clarify about the Bruno thing, I wasn't asking to kind of think. I was just asking in terms of if you're going to have any chance of getting a result at Anfield, you need players that are willing to run and die for that shirt, really. And Bruno is as good of a player as he's not really maybe the person you need in a battle. You need someone who's got a bit more in there than that, you know. So that was the reason why I was asking that question.
You know what's funny? Bruno's different for Portugal. Bruno is very different for Portugal. Like when he plays for Portugal, and
all our players are. Most of our players are. Well, they're not. It's one of these things for me. I don't like how Bruno gets, but I understand it. And I understand it from a point of view, he shouldn't even be going that deep most of the time. I know you have to track back at times as a player. He should be at the other end of the pitch, having the ball fed into him in danger areas where he cuts teams open with his crossing and through balls and passes to try and create chances and scoring some goals running from deep. His first 2.5 years at the club, that's how he was utilised, and he was great at that. He had flaws, of course, but he was great at it. For the last 2 years, he's being used in positions that I don't think he's happy with. Rashford's very simple. Now, it doesn't mean they should down tools. It doesn't excuse the reaction they have. But I understand their frustrations. Rashford spoke about it multiple times. He doesn't like being on the right. He's not very good there. And now that's where he's been told to play. And I'm not suggesting that the manager, you shouldn't work hard wherever you were put. But when you don't have a good culture that enables players to sort of take that sort of that loss or you've got to play there. You add all these things up together and it creates a horrible environment. And there's almost a point at United now, and Twisted Bubba says something here, says, Terry, you criticizing other Man United fans causes toxicity. I understand that logic, but I think apathy is far worse. Just going, fine, that's how we are. Let's just sit here and accept it forever is crazy. And I also know, by the way, that Man United fans won't change until the club starts to become better. Because we've seen that with the majority of Arsenal fans. As soon as they started being a good team again, no issues. Spurs fans had 2 or 3 good games this year and all started saying we've got our club back or we've got our Tottenham back. It doesn't take long to turn it around. You just want to see good football and the club moving forward. And we had 6 months last year from around October until we won the Carabao Cup, where 90% of the toxicity in our fan base went away. Nobody was arguing about Bruno and Donny. Nobody was arguing about Martial and Rashford because we were winning, getting further up in the league and progressing in all the competitions we were in. So that's what it needs. At the same time, when I'm talking about the fans doing it, I'm not saying they've got to stop. I'm just stating that it's only happening because there's nothing else good to talk about. So it's the way it normally is. United fans nowadays equal player FC. Yeah, far too much of that. And I never understand. But that's the Americanization of that.
Here too. Thomas Partey FC. You dare say Thomas Partey is an injury risk and he needs to be sold. People are going to criticize you.
Yeah. Either a thrashing 5-0 plus, or a lucky result for United, nothing in between. Ten Hag masterclass, in another words, get him out. We'll say, mate. I hope you're right. Terry, why didn't you say? Sorry, would have sent you a cake. Oh, it's all right, mate. I don't really advertise my birthday. I don't do birthday. I don't do birthday parties or nothing. I appreciate. Never had a birthday party. Birthday party is the weirdest concept in the world. Like, I don't want all that attention on me. Straight, yeah. Birthday parties. Even like when I got married, I didn't like the idea of people coming up. It's it's your day. I was like, yeah, leave me alone.
What about going away parties at work?
No, I had 4 or 5 at Barclays when I left different departments. I never turned up to any of my own leaving parties. They were arranged, and I never came. I don't like them. I don't like parties for myself. If you throw me a party, I'm leaving as soon as I walk in. I hate it. I love parties, but not my parties. I like other people's parties.
Harry, let me ask you a question.
Strange. I'm not a shy person. I just don't like the attention all being on me for things like parties. It makes me feel a bit magoo.
Is it crazy to say the loss that you guys had last year, since it was so massive, anything that happens this year, you guys are going to be somewhat numb to it and kind of used to it?
Maybe a little bit.
Numb to it, you know?
Yeah, like, you know, when you get hurt, the first girl that ever breaks your heart, you never get that upset ever again. Maybe we're hardened to it. There could be.
You lost so bad last year that you didn't even want to believe that it would be spoken about for that long. And it's like, it's only been a year, and you've heard that 7-0 scoreline. How many? 7.
Yeah, I mean, but it hasn't gone away because we haven't improved again as a team. So if say we were flying right now and we were top of the league, playing brilliantly, it wouldn't be mentioned in that way. It stayed alive because the club has gone backwards again. So it's all about results. At the end of the day, a few people throw it out there, but how often do you hear City bantered for like some of their big bad results in the Premier League 10 plus years ago? No one really mentions it anymore.
You bantered for 8-2. 7-10.
Yeah, but it's few and far. But yeah, only by children that don't know how to banter. Come on, the grown-ups don't do it, Egal, in my opinion.
I'm telling you, Terry, that 7-0 result will be mentioned for 15 years from now.
Yeah, it will be mentioned at times, of course. But if Man United are winning major trophies again and Liverpool are not, it will become an afterthought. Like, I only say that because I don't sit here now hurting as a Man United fan thinking about the 8-2 defeat over you. It is pointless. I would beat you 8-2 once. What the fuck's that got to do with the price of eggs? It's a crazy one for me. This is a weird one. Remember Dave Sexton, Terry? Yes, former Man United and Chelsea manager that also played for Leyton Orient, where I grew up. So yes, I do. Don't test me, bruv. See you later on, my G. Spurs fans, respect your opinion. I think we will win. Brighton missing March, Espinoza, Welbeck, Estepina. I actually said that name right. I'm so impressed with myself. Not Fellaini. Dyslexia kicked in. We should get all 3, in my opinion, is what Sonny thinks. Remember, Will thought Spurs would win the league. No, Will didn't say that. No, Will never said that. No, he didn't say that. That wasn't him.
Third.
The league is facing incompetence, not human mistakes. That's what Arteta called out. Weren't these refs just getting taught how to talk to each other?
That's why the miking them up is going to make it even more funny.
I understand Egal, but I feel like sorry, go on, Alex. What you can say, bruv?
I think miking them up is the first step to making the game like better, purely based on the fact I think the players will change their attitude to like the way they speak to the referees, because if you come up effing and blinding and the papers cook you, because you know in England that's what's going to happen. Oh, look at the way they're talking to the refs, is disgusting. The refs are going to be less intimidated, for lack of a better word, and be more calm in making the decisions because they have more control, and then hopefully that's the first step in making more consistent decisions.
I agree. Have you ever watched, like, say, a political debate and person A throws in a rebuttal or pushes back on a point, and the originator of the point is stuck, and I go, crap, they're like a gotcha moment and they can't get out of it. If you then watch a debate on that same subject 2 months later, suddenly now there's rebuttals for that pushback because the people that believe in that policy will work away and they work out how to rebuttal it. That's the issue with the way referees answer things now. It's normally a week or two before you actually hear from them officially. So they can work on an answer. And then what they do with how they present it is they create this vacuum where they talk about that decision in isolation. Nobody really challenges it per se. They've got, oh, yeah, I agree. And then everybody moves on. And because of tribalism, with the Newcastle one was spoken about, and we couldn't tell how much force was being used in the back. My first feeling was, well, you can never, ever really make a decision for a push in the back again now, because how the fuck do you ever know how much force is being used unless it's ridiculously obvious and the man like.
Don't you think the issue is also like accountability? Because like I can't remember which ref it was who got promoted into the championship, made a horrible mistake.
It's back in the
right?
It should be mic'd up instantly, Nath. You're absolutely mic'd up instantly, and then speaking about it almost straight after the game, because they must be able, if you're sitting there talking about it, you should be able to come out and explain your decision straight away. The reason they don't let them do it is because you know they're going to say things that's going to hold them to account. So they're told to shut their mouths, we'll work on an answer behind the scenes, and we'll release a statement in a week's time or something, unless it's a really bad error. Often they release an apology straight away, but then they never explain themselves. It's just weak.
What they should do is actually have the mic.
Wouldn't challenge flags work in football? Just ask.
Sorry,
no.
I think it would, but I think what would be actually should be implemented is they should be mic'd up, but fans watching in stadiums and at home should be able to listen to what they're saying, because sometimes a ref might make a decision, but as soon as you hear their perspective on it, you can then understand why they've made the call. So,
I think they should
for example,
the game every 2 minutes.
I think
they're talking about it. They have to talk. The reason why they're mic'd up, even if they've made the decision, let's say they said no foul, they're like, no. Do you know what I mean? They were both tugging each other. Do you know what I mean? Or from my view, I think, do you know what I mean? They were both being aggressive.
Yeah,
I think you have an officials press conference where you have the press people for both clubs go to have an official press conference after the game like they do with the managers, and let them hold them accountable for it. Let the press go after them.
Yeah, that would work. I think that works. I think that works just as well, to be fair. And then being mic'd up, JJ, 100% agree. Because what
I think we should also hear the VAR discussions. You know,
but that's my point. That's what I'm saying.
You hear it.
Because then you can actually apply context to what they're saying. If we're just seeing lines and you're hearing Gary Neville give his opinion on what it is, he's just saying, "Oh, I think that's on. I think it's on."
Yeah, exactly.
They're telling you, "Oh no, look,
he's the
player number 14 has done this." But the also,
100%, because you always hear this from the commentators. How's that clear and obvious? Well, no one knows because we can't hear what the ref says. If the ref hasn't seen it, then it's a clear and obvious. But they've got to get rid of clear and obvious as well. And we're going to give the right fucking decision. Clear and obvious.
I also think they need to pay more. I think they need to start paying individuals more. In like, this job is really important, right? And the money generated in football is so lucrative. You start paying players, referees more, and it becomes a full-time profession to the point where they can't make mistakes.
Not even that. If you give them Stern, you got to make sterner punishments, right? Because let's say Wolves were in a relegation battle, right, this season. The amount of points VAR's cost them could have cost the manager his job, right, and ultimately be a reason why they could have got relegated. So when you're looking at the implications of what these decisions have on other teams and managers and their futures, there should be some sort of ramification for what happens when they fuck up.
No, but I hear that. I hear that it's that stuff to do with like goal line technology or offsides. That's a big one. But when things are subjective, it's very difficult to go. It's very difficult to go and say after the thought process, say actually you were going on wrong. If you look at the NBA when they're mic'd up and you can challenge calls as well and stuff, the refs get things wrong all the time. All the time. But look at that's going to happen. Right? That's part of sports, isn't it? That's part of sport. It always has been. To go and try and minimize that to like the nth degree, or now going into the realm of what we were saying before.
Just out of the interest of time, we do have to move on. Sorry, gents, just because we've got to get the final bit done, and the game starts relatively soon. Mohamedou here says, "I understand Egal, but I feel like Arsenal fans play victim. There's no such thing as Arsenal hate, but there is big team hate. If there's big team hate, there's Arsenal hate, isn't there?
There's definitely Arsenal hate.
The same as my club, Liverpool.
So
there's not Arsenal hate. There's not Arsenal hate.
There is. There's City hate. Listen, there's no hate for City.
Nobody says they hate the big six and they don't just hate one club. People do hate certain clubs. That's the reality.
You're speaking about the referees, aren't you?
Oh, in the referees case,
the FA hates Arsenal.
I think they kick them out. I think the referees, when they make decisions, when the referees make decisions in high-profile games, they cover their ass to the nth degree, even though they know they're wrong.
I hear that. People, it's time for Golden Goals. So get your apps out, get ready. You might have already done your predictions. We want to know what they are in the comments sections below. So we'll go, obviously not everyone who's played the game that's on the panel today, but I know myself and Lewis have, and quite a few other people. First game, Bournemouth versus Luton. What you gone with, Lewis?
I've gone with a Bournemouth 3-0 win. Bournemouth cooking at the moment. I think they're at home as well. So, yeah, they're in some good form. I'm backing them. I think they're actually doing really well. I looked at the fixtures recently. I think they've been doing 6. So, yeah, I'm going to back them to get a big win, man. They're flying. They're flying.
They certainly are. I've gone with 3-1. I think Luton might grab a goal because they're not a bad team. But, yeah, I'm definitely going with a Bournemouth win. How about yourself, Will? You reckon Bournemouth will pick up 3 points in this game?
Yeah, they've been in pretty good form lately. I'd say 2-0 for me.
2-0, which is fair. The next game, City versus Crystal Palace. What you gone with, Lewis?
Yeah, I think Man City are back. Nah, hopefully, man. Hopefully. Yeah, Palace have got bare injuries. Stonesy should be there. Rodri should be there. Holden hopefully in the middle. The biggest thing there for me is the clean sheet. We've not kept a clean sheet in the league for 7 matches, so I'm hoping and praying we keep a clean sheet. But yeah, I'm going for a City 5-0 win, man. I think hopefully this could be the one.
Yeah, Kate's gone with a 5-0 win. Nobbins actually very conservative with a 2-0 win. I've gone 3-1 City. What do you reckon, Egal, in this game? What do you think the score will be?
I think I said it earlier. I think it's going to be City like 4-0 versus Crystal Palace. They're going to wipe the floor with them. And Roy Hodgson, man, I don't know how he's going to speak about it after the game, but it's going to be entertaining.
Another interesting game tomorrow is Newcastle Fulham. Alex, how do you see this one going, mate?
I locked it in at 1 second. Yeah, I got 1-1 draw. I think Fulham are on a good run of form, 2 back-to-back 5-0 wins. I think Newcastle don't lose at home often, but they're going to drop points, and the accumulation of games is now going to start catching up with for Newcastle, where they're going to drop a lot of points during this Christmas period.
Newcastle lose this game for me. I don't know about you guys, but I think Fulham have been smashing teams lately, and Newcastle with all their injuries, I can see them easily dropping points in this game, even though they're at home. I'm going to go with the 2-0 Fulham victory.
And you know what? With Eddie Howe as well, I think this for another big shit show. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sacked at the end of the year and they get replace him. I called it at the start on a prediction, and being out the Champions League, no European football. There's already articles in the Northeast coming out where if they lose to Chelsea next week, Tuesday, his job's going to be under review. They're ambitious. They're not going to be waiting around for him. He was always going to be that stopgap manager before they got the real guy they wanted in.
Yeah, you know, Chelsea fans are going to call you out for not wanting Poch out. No.
Yeah, but we're different ambitions, sadly. My directors want under 19.
Yeah. Well, again, it's such a different scenario. Newcastle at the moment being really well run. They're ambitious. They're improving. So it makes sense to sack a manager if the club feels, if the competent people running the club feel that he's taken them as far as he can do. Clubs that have got no structure and no foundation, I'm not saying I agree, but I can understand the logic of saying, well, I think we should stick with the manager for now. Again, 2 different scenarios. I've gone 2-2 in that game, actually. I Fulham have been in good form. I just think at home, the fans will be up for it. They'll be disappointed. They'll try and bounce back. But I'm going to go over 2-2 draw in that game. What about yourself, JJ? What was your prediction for Newcastle Fulham?
I'm going 1-1 in this game. I'm going for a draw as well. I think it'll be 1-1. I think Newcastle will be down in the dumps because of what happened in midweek. You know, that whole roller coaster of emotions, thinking there. Do you know what I mean? In the Champions League, one moment, Europa League, and then finally, obviously, just getting dumped out of Europe. So, and I think Fulham are a decent side. When Liverpool faced them, they put up a decent fight, and Newcastle strong at home. So I think a 1-1 draw is fair.
Fair dues. The next game, I'm going to go to Will first on this one. What's your prediction for Arsenal versus Brighton on Golden Goals?
I think it's going to be 2-2, but I'm hoping for a 2-1 Brighton win.
Interesting. What about yourself, Alex? What are you going with for this game?
2-1 Brighton win. Literally locked it in.
Locked it in. LB?
2-1 Brighton win, man.
That's on there. That's it.
Yeah, I'm backing it. This is the game week, man. This is the game week. So Egal, bro, we have to talk next week, man. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
What about yourself, JJ? How do you see this one panning out?
I hope for a 2-2. I think Arsenal might nick it, but I hope for a 2-1. I think Arsenal. My head's saying 2-1 Arsenal.
What have you gone with, Egal? What you gone with, bruv?
We're smashing them 3-0 Arsenal.
Hey! Oh!
I love
it. Nathan, how about yourself? You smashing them 3-0?
No, I'm not that confident. I think a 2-1 Arsenal, just to clarify.
Yeah. I've gone 2-1 with Arsenal. I think it'll be a close game, but I think at home, I think they might break the history duck this week. And I'm going to go with a very narrow 2-1 home win for Arsenal. The next game, I'm actually looking forward to, I'll only probably get to see the highlights because they're all on at the same bloody time, but Brentford versus Aston Villa. I'm going with a Villa win. I'm going 3-2 Aston Villa. So again, a close game, high scoring game, 3-2 Villa. What did you do on this one, Lewis?
I've gone with a 1-1 draw. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like, you see these teams, right? You see teams do this all the time where they beat like a title challenger, right? And Villa have done this. They beat City and then they beat Arsenal. And then the next game, they'll go and drop points. I remember Liverpool beat us last year and then went and lost to Bournemouth, I think it was. And I just think like, and I also look at Aston Villa and thinking their fixtures in the next like 5 weeks, they're all pretty much winnable. I think surely they got to drop points somewhere. You know what I mean? Brentford are one of the better sides. Yep. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think a draw, but at some point we got to have serious conversations about Villa being potential proper title challenges. If they come through this again, you know, we've got to start talking on them. Yeah,
I think my view with Villa is I'm waiting to see how they cope with the festive season because we know the games come thick. If you get to like the beginning of January or the FA Cup break and they're a point or two off the top, 20 games into the season, I mean, that for me, well, they built the foundation to be in a title race. So yeah, they're doing bits at the minute.
They don't travel well away though, do they? They've got their away record ain't as good.
No.
I know at home they're formidable, but away they're not as
yeah, they're looking at their away form. Yeah, 9th in the table. 8 games they've played away from home. 1-3, drawn 2, lost 3. So yeah, it's pretty.
Also Brentford are missing Mbeumo for a couple of months. I've seen earlier on today. So no Tony, no Mbeumo. So
it's funny, but Brentford's home form, they played 8 at home, 1-3, drawn 3, lost 2. So home and away form is almost identical between these two teams. So that's why I think it'll be quite high scoring, actually. Both teams will open up. Will, what's your prediction for this one, brother?
I'm going to say 2-1 Villa.
Nice. Where did KJ go? I'll look at KJ's predictions because KJ's got more right than anybody so far. KJ gets a lot of right. He's gone with a 1-1 in that game. And then the final one on Golden. Thankfully, Liverpool Man United wasn't a Golden Goals game. I'm so grateful. I don't have to put it in writing what I think is going to happen. So thankfully, that wasn't part of Golden Goals this week. But West Ham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. What are we going for on this one, Egal?
I'm thinking, I think I'm going to go with the draw on this one. I'm going to go 2-2 draw. I actually think it's going to be a tight game, and West Ham playing midweek, Wolves having a fresh start. I think they're going to cancel each other out. 2-2.
I like that. All right, how about yourself, JJ?
I'm going with a West Ham win. I think West Ham are decent at home. I think 2-0 West Ham.
Ooh. See, everybody else on the prediction, everyone's got at least.
I can see everyone.
No one's gone for a clean sheet on that one. What about yourself, Luke?
2-0 Hammers.
Sorry.
I gone 2-1 Wolves, man. I like Wolves. Wolves are sort of my second team, even though they beat me, even though they beat City earlier on. They said no, it's not my second team. I think they're really underrated. Gary O'Neill's doing a great job. They play some decent stuff. They've been really unlucky. Their main issues, they can't put the ball in the back of the net. You know, that's what it is. Yeah, but listen, West Ham fans been telling me that even though they went on a decent run, that they were very lucky in a lot of those games. So they've just had Europe. I'm going to back a slight Wolves victory 2-1.
There we go. Viewers, give us your score predictions. Make sure you sign up to BetMGM and play Golden Goals. It's free to sign up. You never have to deposit any money on the app if you just want to play Golden Goals, but you must be over the age of 18 and in the UK. And if you get your 6 predictions right this weekend, it is £2 million. No other company that does these types of offers around 6 correct results pays you this much money. It's double that of any of the others. So why would you play theirs and not this? Get this one done. £2 million up for grabs this weekend again. I want to thank my panel today. It's been a great show with great challenges, good arguments, good debates as well. So Will, LB, JJ, Alex, Nathan, and Egal, thank you all very, very much. To all of my super chatters, you're amazing. Please hit the like button before you leave and make sure you've subscribed to the Terrace. Until next, we're live, by the way, as well in a couple of hours after Tottenham's game versus Nottingham Forest. So we'll see you all then. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you in a